All right, guys. While we wait for the last bit of it here to tee up, just giving you a bit of a warning. This show will probably run pretty late. Okay. So I just want to give you guys a fair warning. I know maybe you got your favorite shows you go to, after whatever it's going to be, but the bottom line is it will be a long show. We will have a lot to talk about. All right, hang tight. All right, let's just fade it on out. All right, there's just too much to talk about. Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. Whoops, we're not going to that one first. Change of plans. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. I am your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. You have to excuse my appearance today. I tried, but without Laura here, I couldn't get my arm in my suit. I don't know what's going on. I don't know when this thing's going to heal. Apparently, it's been like a week, and I'm feeling like a lazy bum, and I really want to get back into the gym. I like can do certain things, but like everything, you move your arm. No matter what you do, you're constantly moving your arm. So no matter what you do, you're going to hurt your arm. So if you go, period. So I've tried. It's been like a week, and I was like kind of cheating. That's the truth. I think it's getting better, but like it's just one motion. I'm like, oh shit. When she went away, it didn't dawn on me. How am I going to get a jacket on? How am I going to get a shirt? I really didn't think it was going to be that bad, but apparently it is. Like I can move, like I got like, and I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just saying I got a little bit of temporary John McCain syndrome on one side. Like I can't get them up like past there a little bit. Like they don't, well, both arms, but this arm's just perfectly fine. All right. So, normally I'd be in a suit, especially on a day when we talk about polling. I don't know if I'm going to show any interviews yet. We don't have that many, but I will show something that I think is really important in Kentucky 4, which I hit up Mike Tracy. I've been talking to Mike Tracy about, because there's this idea among like, especially the stupid clapping seals. There's this idea that Epstein hasn't hurt Republicans and that it doesn't matter to Republican voters or all voters. And it's just demonstrably false. So what I've been doing is sharing with him and other reporters. In fact, it has. And by the way, the White House knows this. Only the dumb clapping seals like pretend that it's not true. It is true. And they know it. The only thing that what people don't realize is that it actually hurt with women before it hurt with men. All right. Young women, particularly, who voted for Donald Trump. That's who it hurt. That's who Trump suffered with first when it came to Epstein. Men came later. And that's interesting. But we always focus on, or we tend to focus on men, because men are so critical to the Trump coalition and Republicans in period. But the fact of the matter is, that is not who it hurt the most with. It clearly hurt with women first, which honestly makes sense, doesn't it? if you use your brain, right? All right, don't forget, follow me on Instagram at peoples_pundit, which is still relatively new, all right? And nobody follows it. We've been doing a lot of shorts. Well, nobody compared to X, right? We've been doing a lot of shorts. But speaking of, we got the jobs report. I do want to talk about Artemis II a little bit. I think I want to talk about space in general under Donald Trump. And what I don't know what we're going to do with this after Trump, because of course these projects have been ongoing. It's not just Donald Trump, but he, especially in his first administration, he was a like space directive president. He issued, I think, 4 directives in his first 2 years, and they were big. Because of funding appropriations, Barack Obama basically raided Medicare and Medicaid. But what he also raided to pay for Obamacare was NASA. And a lot of people never realized that, right? And until Lightfoot came in, NASA is like the one agency, and I don't think they'll like Republicans in general, but it's the one agency. We've done this. I don't know, you guys, some of you, if you've been following me a long time, you may remember a trip to the Space Coast, but we actually interviewed NASA employees and they loved Donald Trump. And that was remarkable to me because government employees don't like Republicans, period. They want big government, big spending Democrats. Thank you, by the way. I see you guys following on Insta at peoples_pundit on Instagram. Let's go. I do see that. Thanks. I just got those beeps. But anyway, that was the exception. And by the way, obviously that matters when it comes to Florida and the Space Coast, which, by the way, is really the overall theme of this. Although I want to hit many different topics and we're going to run late, the overall theme of this show is that Republicans are out to lunch as the midterm map expands into races, contests, and states once considered safe by Republicans. And you may remember it is now April. We're now well over, into a year of when I first started to put flares in the air. We are exactly where, listen, if I was a wannabe clapping seal too, who wanted to be Rich Barrister People's Pundit for a living, I would hate me too, because every time you keep trying to get one over on me, you look like an idiot. And the only thing that keeps your follower count up is the fact that people chase affirmations in this business. Well, the grift is almost over. We're now a year in. Everything that I said was going to happen has happened. I could pull up all the tweets with you mocking the Senate maps and all of that stuff. You're stupid and you'll never be as good as me. We're exactly where we expected it and predicted we would be. Whether or not Republicans stay in this place, in this environment, has always been completely up to them. As of right now, I'm telling you, they're out to lunch. They don't care. They just don't. Most of them, despite what they say publicly, are completely resigned to losing. The president knows that they are going to lose and lose badly. Florida, his own district, it's just a special election, turned out not to be a smart argument. It isn't just a special election. The aggregate of special election data is actually quite predictive when you have a data set this large, as Sean Trendy pointed out to Democrats many years ago in his article, multi-series article, on Real Clear Politics. They are predictive. If you have a large data set, the winner or loser is not as important as the under and over performances. That's what you need to look at. You can't just outwardly dismiss, oh, it's just the special election turnout was low. It's just the special. You can do that a couple of times. You can't do it when the data set is this large. All it ends up telling you with that stupid excuse is that, yeah, you're right. It's just a special. I guess you don't care. I guess your voters don't care. They're not enthusiastic at all, which all the polls showed. And you should have expected to lose. Will it get better in a midterm when it's a general election cycle? No, not when the data sets are like this. Sorry, it's too robust. Republicans have to do something to break out of the historic pattern. And right now, they are just making one historic mistake after another. And they don't even care. This is what I really want to convey to you. At this point, they don't even care. Most people just call me up. They want to see the polling. They want to hear my thoughts. They want to see what's going on. And they just, at this point, just have this resigned feeling like it is what it is. The president wants to do something big. I will say this because there was an article about Susie Wiles the other day. Susie took the advice. And it was like, look, they can't win on their own. Even if you were to have a great agenda, they're like babies, they're infants. They cannot win on their own. Donald Trump saved the Senate in 2018. You're going to have to do that again. And Trump didn't want to do it. It's time for real truth bombs. He didn't want to do it because Charlie had been killed and he had already gotten a shot taken at him. He was not thrilled with the idea of going out in public and doing massive rallies and campaigning all over the place anymore. He didn't want to do it and still does not want to do it like that anymore. He wanted to do, if anything, smaller, intimate settings. But anyway, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I do just want to defend Susie here, because I think if you were to ask the guys over at, Insider Advantage and Rasmussen Reports, they're going to say the same thing. If you were asked for your opinion, she is known, and now whether or not they take the advice is a different story, but she is known for saying, don't hold back. Now, that's all very fine because, of course, it's Donald Trump and he never wants to be put on his heels. So you have to hold back to some degree. I mean, I guess that's not necessarily true. I'm not exactly known for holding back, but like, he doesn't want to be told like, you screwed this up and you did that and you did this wrong and this is what you need to do. So it's not like everyone's going to parade in there and tell them exactly what's on their mind. But when it comes to somebody like me, I'm like brutally honest. So eventually, I want to say it's not like they didn't hear what needed to be heard, but there's a difference between being willing to hear it and one, being able or truly able to empathize and understand and really get it and have it click and settle in. And then two, the willingness to be able to act on it, right? Because if you don't really understand, like, I don't get it. Why is everyone bitching about affordability? This is a word that Democrats made up. No, sir, it's been in the Webster Dictionary for like ever. What do you do? Affordability is not a word Democrats made up. Affordability is inflation, what you use to win the election. You have not been focused like a laser beam like you were your first term. Because this is the sad thing. Unlike Trump's first term, when we barely had him positive, barely. His second term was very different. He was very positive. I think we're the poll that had him with the highest spread, right? The widest spread. But the bottom line is, the first administration wasn't like that, and never had a honeymoon. And yet he did things in his first administration that had he done them in the second administration, it would have been it would have been a totally different ball game. He went on manufacturing tours around the Midwest. He had, all of these initiatives and events at the White House and toured the country with them. The Great American Comeback, and he did things that were very much in line with the America First agenda. In administration 2, once March rolled around and the Gaza ceasefire ended and the Israel lobby rolled into town, and it's just true. I'm not picking on anybody. It is true. It just stopped. Everything stopped, and they sucked all the oxygen out of the room. And the president, for his credit, tried to constantly say, you know what, I want this healthcare initiative. You remember that? And it just got stepped on. Why? Because the Israel lobby rolled into town and they were whispering in every journalist's ears. Go and watch the press conference from that healthcare summit, and you will hear them bring up foreign policy after foreign policy after foreign policy after foreign. Nobody wanted to talk about healthcare. And unfortunately for the president, he did not handle it right, which is the way Obama did. If Obama was doing something like that and somebody brought up Libya or something, he'd be like, we're not talking about Libya. Stay on topic, fool. And they would laugh and chuckle and he would get his message across. Trump, he's almost too transparent and too willing to answer questions because he just goes off on these tangents and it's not message discipline. So the discipline in the White House, when it came to the message and the optics, just completely fried away after March and April. And unfortunately, we are here now where I said we would be, because unlike wannabes and noobs, I know how Washington works. I've been around the block for a while. You either get your agenda or the blob gets their agenda. They cannot walk and chew gum at the same time. President just got frustrated. I can't get this through the courts. I can't do this. I can't remove Somalis. There are no mass deportations. So please take your talking points and stick them where the sun don't shine. It's not happening. That's fake. You're like fake winning. He got frustrated. He saw what he did with Maduro and he said, maybe I can do that with Iran too. And they talked him up, they talked him up, they talked him up. By the way, I knew the answer to that question when I asked Joe Kent that on Wednesday. I just wanted you to hear it. So now Republicans are out to lunch, and the inevitable has happened, and the map has expanded. We are in April. In Burn It Down, which is still #1 in new releases, by the way, I have a lot of different charts that I'm like kind of holding back and not sharing with you right now. But believe me when I tell you, generic ballot polling has gotten much better since 1964, which is when we went back to Gallup's generic ballot. It has gotten much better since 2008 even. And especially with the advent of the Real Clear Politics average, the aggregate, it has ironed out average errors for individual pollsters. So we have a very, very solid benchmark to look at the national environment and to be able to predict the probability of whether or not a party wins or loses seats, right? Or wins or loses the popular vote, really is a better way to put it, because maps change based on apportionment, obviously. That's what happened in 22. Democrats were very, very good. They had a better map, a more favorable map, especially when it came to the realignment, than they had in 18. All right, and by the way, they will have a more favorable map in 26 than they had in 22 and 24. So it's going to be that much harder. So Republicans needed to lock in that much more, and they didn't. So being a sycophant doesn't accomplish anything. There was a very, very small margin for error for Republicans this year. You're not going to get your ass kicked in the House and have it not bleed into the Senate or bleed down ballot. It doesn't. It's unrealistic to expect that. And now we have, obviously, a series of polls showing that this is a real problem. And by the way, you can go on a tangent about the polls, but the registrations back it up. The special elections back it up. The turnout data backs it up. This is happening. This is real. And being a sycophant doesn't save you. Reality always wins. If you're on a sinking ship, would you sit there and tell people to shut up and stop panicking? Should the captain get his crew together and maybe try to stop the leak? Or should they jettison the lifeboats and tell everybody everything's going to be fine? That would be retarded, right? That's what clapping seals and idiots in the Republican Party have been doing for the last year. This happened in the Trump administration the first time around. We dealt with it. We saw it. Like literally, it's the new Q-tard syndrome. They're just as stupid as the Q-tards were. Oh, Robert Mueller's going to be fine. Nobody cares about this. Not going to impact the election at all. Oh, you know what? It was just a 7-year promise to repeal and replace Obamacare. No big deal. It's a betrayal. It's not a betrayal. What happened? You rich? You got TDS? Your IQ has to be very low to continue with this charade at this point. All right. Let's quickly, 12:20. Let's get into the jobs report. All right, Bing, there, that's the one I want. Here is the Econo Day table. Econo Day is a great website, by the way. Hang on one second. Econo Day is an awesome website if you want all the economic indicators and you want the consensus forecast. We don't do it anymore. Once upon a time, we did on People's Pundit Daily many years ago. Part of me misses it. I used to like being the editor over there. We had, some good people, several good people. We had it down to a science, templates for writing up, just no propaganda, no opinion, opinion was in the opinion section, just straight up data, straight up economic indicators. We had a template for how we reported them so it wouldn't inject any bias in the reports. Part of me does miss it a little bit, but it was all consuming. And the job of a pollster just became too much. Okay. But as you can see here, we beat expectations this month. All right. I mean, I know the administration is going to try to spin it, but here's what I'm talking about with messaging. They're doing the same thing that the Biden White House did, and it won't work. All right. The consensus forecast range, or the forecast range, spanned from negative 25,000, so a job loss of 25,000 on the month, to a job gain of 75,000 on the month. So obviously that brings, it's not always average. It depends how many, obviously you guys know how this works. But anyway, the consensus was 51,000. Last month, it was initially reported we lost 92,000 jobs, which was a catastrophe, obviously, for their message going into this stupid, unpopular war. And then now it's been revised down around 41,000 more jobs. So the 178 that we've actually, got, we'll see what happens next month. But obviously you have to take it with a grain because job loss in the last month was even worse. I'm not too concerned about that. The unemployment rate fell. The consensus was for it to hold steady at 4.4. It fell to 4.3. Manufacturing was up 15,000 jobs. And that was after it was initially reported that we lost 12,000 in the month of February, but now it was revised down to 6, which is good. That's good news. This all sounds very good. Participation, though, fell again. It was 62 flat last month. It's now fallen again to 61.9. This is a problem for me. Also, by the way, I want to point this one out. The employment population ratio, which is less cited. I mean, everyone focuses on labor force participation. But the employment population ratio is arguably, and I used to argue this a lot when I was back on the street, is arguably more important, all right? Because, of course, I'm a trends guy. And it's like, what's the population going to be in the next 10 years? Are we creating jobs at a sufficient pace to be able to sustain that? If you look at the trend, this is what saddens me when I consider the first Trump administration versus the second and what happened with COVID and why I can't stand cheerleaders, guys. Like I'll tolerate it for a little bit, but I don't like clapping seals. I don't like the H word. It's too strong. Save that for the devil. But I don't like sycophants and I don't like clapping seals. They're not helpful at all. They are detrimental when it comes to a leader like Donald Trump. That's how, and by the way, again, that's how we got dog walked into this stupid war. They know who he is. They know his personality. They know what works for him. They used it smart, very smart. And they got what they wanted. The reason sycophants in Trump era are so bad is because you've got so many examples of stupid mistakes. I just mentioned one before, Robert Mueller. Don't worry, he's got this under control. Trust the plan. Right. Okay. All right, boomer. Here we are again with this gray line, which is the artificial recession created, right, by the COVID lockdowns. Something that stupid sycophants, the same stupid sycophants now who are all of a sudden MAGA. One of them who is like very, very good example is Will Chamberlain. All right. This is a guy who cheerled for every stupid political move Donald Trump has ever made. He is not MAGA. He is typical rhino, typical neocon, a typical wishy-washy, wherever the wind blows conservative. He cheerled. I remember this so clearly because Barnes and I were the only ones that early saying that lockdowns were stupid and this is what the polling will look like 3 months from now. All right. And that you're being gaslit by all of these media pollsters, that his approval was the highest ever. First time it's positive. First time it's above 50 because he was locking down the government. They gaslit you. And the dumb sycophants like Will Chamberlain and others walked right into it. And he's not even a sycophant. He's more like a grift, right? So anyway, 6 months later, we end up exactly where I say we were going to end up. Do you think he says, I'm sorry? No. And once Donald Trump is gone and the primaries come around in 2024, not only is he off the Trump train, he's supporting DeSantis because Trump is bad on the lockdowns, something that he cheerled for. I guarantee you a year from now, or even just maybe immediately after the midterms, watch what these people do. They will never come back and say, I was wrong. The Iran war killed us. Gas prices went too high. We should have focused on the domestic. We got clobbered. You're right. Israel sucked up the entire first Trump term and people are over them. That will not happen. They will do their little dance and they will never come back like real men come back and say they were wrong. And no pollster and no podcaster has the impact strong enough to create this environment. If I was to poll myself right now, I'd probably get a 5% recognition. So here's the employment population ratio. This is, you can see, much, much higher. If we were to look at labor force participation, what you'll see too is that it hits that critical 63 threshold, which is a critical threshold with this population size particularly. And then it craters because of the lockdowns, which idiots cheerled for. We never get back to 63. You can see the employment population ratio struggling as well. This is a big deal because how the methodology at the Bureau of Labor Statistics works is that unemployment will fall when labor force exits transpire. So participation rate falls by 1/10. It's not always pound for pound like that, but the employment rate fell as well. It did not fall because the economy got stronger. It's quite the opposite. This is an Obama level of jobs report. I hate to break it to all you Trump supporters. This is like, I feel like I'm back in the Obama era. Only maybe a little bit better expected month among manufacturing. But I feel like I'm back in the Obama era. Wages are weaker than expected. If it falls below 3.5, we got real problems, folks. But the fact we can't get back to 63 flat the way it was under the first Trump term, it tells us we have a very weak labor market. A strong labor market is when you see labor force participation rise, the employment population ratio improve. Typically, we want jobless claims, 200K or below, and yet the unemployment rate is still falling. That is what we saw, by the way, for like 15 consecutive months under Donald Trump until they sabotaged him and unleashed a deadly virus for his boomer coalition on the world. Just so happens, coincidentally, accidentally. All right. So again, and my bad, I did not have that. What is this? Ohio. Huh. That's weird. Put it on silent. All right. So that's, I mean, just one of many, many, many reasons why I absolutely loathe sycophants. Another reason why this jobs report was not good is because at least in the first when Trump was doing great, I'm going to give him 5 months. He was doing good for 5 months. It was getting a little bit rocky, but you expect the end of a honeymoon period after a while. We saw what was at least, even though the goods producing sector was not soaring back the way it did under the first Trump term, which I think we all should give him a little bit of leeway for this post-COVID era. A lot of voters had this unrealistic expectation that he was going to be able to just snap his fingers and bring us back to the pre-COVID economy that we had under his first term. That was unrealistic. The White House message didn't hold their hands and walk them through by the way, which I suggested they do. They didn't listen. They should have taken the Obama strategy, which is brilliant. Instead, they took the Biden strategy, which when Biden did it was always funny to me because he watched, and a lot of his advisors watched the Obama strategy and watched it work. And yet somehow they thought we're going to try to gaslight people instead of doing the hand-holding strategy. And they failed. And yet it's even more remarkable to me than watching Biden make that mistake, now watching Trump make that mistake because he's capitalized on it before and he knows it doesn't work. But he is. But at least one sign through that first 5-month period was the change in foreign versus domestic workers. It may not have been the big numbers that we wanted in those job reports, but they were domestic workers, right? And then, of course, he got is sidelined the better word, or is really did he flip-flop? Is that the better word? Flip-flop is definitely the better word. On H-1B visas, he said stupid shit like we don't have talented people in the United States of America. Anyway, this has completely changed now, unfortunately. This month again, you can see that this is almost all attributed. It is all attributed to gains in foreign-born workers. Hold on 1 second, guys. No. I think he dropped his toy behind something. He's trying to get in there. All right. So here is the foreign-born trend according to the St. Louis Fed, which is a great website, by the way, if you don't know it. They track basically everything. So after we stopped doing a lot of it on People's Pundit Daily, I'm like, well, I'll just watch the St. Louis Fed. But here's the foreign-born trend. Obviously, that is updated for this jobs report. Look at how the foreign-born numbers trend, right? It trended up. And then when we look at domestic or native, you can see it fell. There is another chart bottom line is domestic workers actually lost jobs in this employment report again. You can see the trend up, though, in the beginning of Trump's term. This is the tragic part about this. Why is there a glitch in the data? Because of the government shutdown. We did not get jobs reports for that time, right? Or a job report. We missed a month. So they have to skip over that month. But anyway, you can see the improvement. And it's like, okay, if it's only 50 or 100K jobs a month, it's almost worth it if there is a decline in government jobs and a decline in foreign-born employment. But instead, now we've reversed again. And we took a big dive. We did tick up here and there, but overall, it looks like another declining trend while the foreign-born is again on the rise. And look at the period in this first year. Look at the decline in foreign-born. And even in his first administration, that was really not the case. We had a periodic decline, which was great, pointing it out at the time, of course, but definitely at the beginning of his administration, there was a trend up in it. Nothing was changing for that. So he wasn't addressing that. He was addressing the dominance of the service sector over the goods producing sector. And that was critical. And unfortunately, the pandemic killed that. And then it exploited why that matters, right? We're just not producing stuff that is critical, that we need, that no one's going to give us if we end up in a global war, a world war, or even a very difficult great power conflict. And Trump recognized it at the time, but unfortunately the pandemic sucked all of the oxygen out of the room the way he allowed the Iran war now to suck oxygen all out of the room. And by the way, again, if you you do what you want to do, but I'm telling you that if you were following people who told you last year it was just a limit, if they said dumb shit like it's just a limited strike, calm down, it didn't start World War III. If they said dumb shit like it's just a special election, calm down, it doesn't mean anything, you should unfollow them because they're stupid. You should examine whether or not you care about reality or whether or not you're a flat earther, which is hilarious to bring up today because, of course, you see NASA making fun of flat earthers. Well, the clapping seal sycophant Q-tards are a lot like flat earthers. Doesn't matter how many times NASA goes out, sends Artemis 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the future, out and takes a picture of Earth from it, they'll think it's fake and they'll just carry on in their own reality. It's the same thing with these people. Doesn't matter how much data in any form you show them or how much reality smacks them in the face, they will still tell you they're winning, or in their case, the earth is flat. They're the same thing. It's a sickness. All right. It's not, look, it's not unique to the right or to the left, but it's hive mind behavior. It's very much like Democrats. Like there are many on the right now who are acting just like the left. They're no different, which really shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, human beings are human beings. Ideology we should not expect it to dictate whether or not people suffer from cognitive or various forms of cognitive biases or illusory truth effects, things of that nature. Maybe one does less than the other, but as it turns out, the right still has quite a few people who do. All right, so I'll get rid of that in a second. So there's the jobs report. Great that it beat expectations. It's a good talking point. You can say the unemployment rate fell, but for thinking people, it's not a good jobs report. It's really not. And doesn't matter anyway. We'll see what happens next month. It's not going to be until we have so many, and Trump the first time around knew this, and he was dedicated to dealing with it. We have so many structural problems with our economy that, without big, bold moves, it's not going to make that much of a difference. And unfortunately, there were a lot of good things in the big, beautiful bill, but war sucks all the oxygen out of the room politically, but it also has, more times than not, negative impacts on the current economy. Maybe later that will change. There can be long-term benefits overall, but we're not going to see that in the near future. We're just not. All right. So all the grand planners, I hate to break it to you, but it's just not going to happen. So how is all of this impacting? So like if you were a cheerleader for the war, you got a problem. All right. And I just play the clip first, and then we'll go into what he said in response. But yeah, I mean, anybody notice if you're Lindsey Graham, for instance, you have a huge monetary advantage over your opponents, and you just take that monetary advantage and you cruise if you think you're winning. And for a while there, he was. And now he's not. So now he is doing things and changing stances and attacking opponents, which he went after both Paul Dans and Mark Lynch. But I do think Dan scares him more with good reason. He's a low country Republican, and there are a lot of votes in the low country. So if Dan's winds up dominating in PD and Charleston, it's game over. Like, because you're going to have Mark Lynch and Lindsey Graham fight over Lindsey Graham's hometown up country, which we can go into that in greater detail. By the way, that's another thing. It's been almost a year that we pointed out that nobody wanted to listen to. In an environment like this, Republicans could F around and lose a state like South Carolina. If Florida is this close, and it is, I don't need St. Pete to tell me it is. If Florida is this close at this point, a guy like Lindsey Graham or a stupid kind of like traditional boomer Republican could have a real problem in PD and in the low country, because they're totally different kinds of Republicans. This is a lesson that Republicans should have learned, or started to at least begin to learn, in 2016. This is how Donald Trump toppled the Bush machine in South Carolina. I mean, it was like bringing out the brother, breaking out the brother. We're making our stand here, and ends up getting crushed because they were too stupid to understand state-to-state migration, to understand what realignment means and how it impacts the electorate. So Trump dominated in like PD and Horry County, but then he also did very well in the low country, and there were just too many votes. And he did respectable in areas where the Bushes thought they were going to run up the margins among boomer evangelicals in the northern upcountry part of the state, western actually technically, but still north to some of the state like Charleston. So now Lindsey Graham gets his poll back. And this is what happened. This is why Lindsey has all of a sudden pivoted, and boots on the ground is not required. We don't need, like Mark Levin and Mark Thiessen tried to argue, we don't need to go in there, send the 82nd Airborne. I forgot to ask Joe this. Of course I know the answer. It's just Mark Levin's such an idiot. These people are so stupid. They don't even realize the 82nd Airborne, Mark, is an infantry division, you stupid moron. He says, we're not talking about sending the infantry. It's the 82nd. This is a specialized unit. Yeah, because they jump out of airplanes. But they're an infantry unit, dummy. And maybe if you ever volunteered to fight one of the wars you've been supporting your entire freaking life, you would know that. Rangers are a light infantry special unit. Even Green Berets have to go through OSUT. Or most of them do now because of the pipeline. But back in the day, you could come from anything and go into SFAS. But a lot of it's different now. All right. But okay. So here we go with Lindsey Graham and his attack on Paul Dans and Mark Lynch. It's just that I would note Paul Dans took 0 times second to respond. 0 time. He knew exactly what his response should be, and he did it. And I'm just wondering what took everybody else so long, because this is a real, I'm arguing, I'm telling you right now, this is a key test. When they come at you the way that Graham came at Dans and Lynch, you will learn a lot about how that person will behave in DC by tests like this. And what they're basically saying is he's got Vishbera, who is Matt Gaetz's old staffer at one OAN. I believe they had to let him go, or Rab had to let him go. I can't remember. He made a meme. I believe he compared like Mark Levin to a cockroach or something. Whatevs. All right. And of course, the Israel lobby got all upset and they had to let him go. Vish is now on the communications team on the Dans campaign. And Graham gets his poll back. And I know this to be true. I know other people have polled it too. And Graham is back to 40%. And of course, if he wasn't, you would have saw that poll publicly, wouldn't you? Of course. It would have said Fabrizio and Associates for the PAC supporting Lindsey Graham. Look at Graham at 60. What are we even doing here? And Graham had taken off when he wasn't under any scrutiny, when he was just being bear hugged by the president, which, by the way, the president is not going to go to South Carolina to save him unless he changes his mind. But when I don't think anyone, well, maybe I shouldn't disclose that. Maybe not. It's just that they realize they can. You got the endorsement. You got to win it on your own. So Graham gets back this poll, and the the boots on the ground talk, the level, we flattened Berlin, we flattened Tokyo. By the way, we bombed with the A-bomb Nagasaki and Hiroshima. You historically illiterate retard. This is a major problem we have in this country. We have really stupid people, older stupid people that are like, we need a generational change. We do. We need generational candidates. We can't continue with these. No offense to you guys who are older. It's just that, like, you're going to be we need new blood. All right. We need new blood, which is a big part of Burn It Down. When I'm arguing and Burn It Down, we need new blood. And by the way, I love you guys so much. Burn It Down is still #1 in hot new releases, and I didn't really even try to push it yet. So I know that, like, it's you guys, particularly on locals. You must have done it. It had to be, because I didn't do the full court press. I didn't. All right. So let's just play the short clip of his attack against Dan's. And then we will show you Dan's reply, which is, I mean, you're going to hear it in the news report anyway, but I will show you his reply on my Twitter. Okay. All right, here we go.
Challenging Paul Dan's today to fire him and condemn him.
In response, Dan's wrote in part, Israel picks Lindsey Graham's staff, but they do not pick mine. I'm not firing Vishbara, and I am calling on the people of South Carolina to fire Lindsey Graham. What about free speech?
Free speech? This is a campaign about defining the Republican Party.
Well, finally, Lindsey Graham is right about something. There have to be these campaigns to define the Republican Party right now, because if it continues on being his party, if Lindsey Graham continues to be the face of the Republican Party, by the way, Lindsey Graham tried to run for Senate against Donald Trump. He didn't make it. Why? If it continues to be the case that the Republican Party is branded by people like Lady Lindsey Graham and other warmongers like him, they're cooked. They're done. There is no constituency for this brand of republicanism anymore. It's remarkable that Donald Trump ended up being the guy who brought us to this place. It's truly remarkable. And all of the things you're hearing about the Bushies and that wing of the party preparing to take back the party when Donald Trump is gone are all true. It's just remarkable to me that Donald Trump has given them so much already. All right. So in response, Dan says this. All right. Lindsey Graham, who called President Trump a racist in 2016 and who called for J6 freedom fighters to be shot dead, is demanding I fire my staff because one of them made a meme about Mark Levin. You don't have to agree on foreign policy or like every meme someone makes to defend free speech. My response, which is his response in general, Israel picks Lindsey Graham's staff, but they don't pick mine. I am not firing Vishbara, and I am calling on the people of South Carolina to fire Lindsey Graham. That is what he said in the report too as well. All right. This is important. It's an important test because, again, when DC, whatever you want to call it, rhinos, the establishment, it really is DC. It's the blob. It's the uniparty. When they lose on the issues and when they're losing on the issues, this is what they do. They never respond with arguments about the issues themselves. Did you hear how he reacted to the question from the reporter about the First Amendment? First Amendment? Right, because Lindsey Graham doesn't believe in the First Amendment. Mark Levin doesn't believe in the First Amendment. He doesn't believe in the Fourth either. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a mass surveillance state that he supported and still supports to this day. They don't believe in that. Otherwise, you couldn't get 5 years for talking about a certain group in a way that if the law was written as like people like him and Randy Fine would have it, that's just good old-fashioned criticism. That's just called criticism. As an American, you're allowed to say or think and do whatever you want as long as it doesn't physically hurt someone or call for violence on someone. In World War II, there were Nazis walking around this country, folks. There were Nazi meetings. Now, it was also the right of mobsters to oppose those meetings, which they did routinely in New York State. And that was like, again, that was how they opposed it was above and beyond, but it was their right to technically oppose it. But people didn't get locked up just for being a Nazi. You had to argue your point. You had to make your case. You're allowed to think what you want to think. Unfortunately, it sucks. And to some degree. Sam Adams said schemes of leveling are unconstitutional. But we still have them, and you still have to argue against them. That's for the Supreme Court if they ever get something through. Like, I don't know, Obamacare to strike down, but they don't. They failed. But this is what the Uniparty does. And it is critical when somebody gets this attack leveled at them. It is critical for them not to cave. Because, folks, if they're going to cave in the face of something like that, believe me, when they get to D.C., they will turn into Lindsey Graham. Over the years, I hate that I can count more than on both hands to the people I've helped who I thought were going to be assets to the American people and are going to be principled. I can count more than I ever thought I would be able to. That they failed. I can count the number of people that failed, and it's more than I can count on both hands. And that's why I don't like to even help anybody anymore, and I don't want to poll anybody anymore. I've said this multiple times. I don't like to poll for candidates because they have let me down over and over and over and over. There's two reasons why. One is if I poll a race for a candidate, I have to take it off the table. I cannot poll it for you. All right. So if there's a way that we could like fund it through the public polling project, or I just end up paying for it myself, that's something that I offer to people who follow me on social media. And if I do it for a client, then it's gone. It's off the table. Now, I'm not like universally agreed with here. Other pollsters constantly break this rule. Tony Fabrizio, the president's pollster himself, he polls for all of the president's PACs and endorse people. It's part of the entire endorsement grift. He'll poll for the president and hand him a totally different number, and then go poll for the Wall Street Journal and hand them the real number. Doesn't matter if he's partnered with somebody else. That doesn't matter. And to me, in my mind, it's a conflict of interest. He's not alone. Richard Hart does it. NBC News. A lot of them do it. DeSantis's pollster did it. He's the other joint pollster with Richard Hart for the NBC poll. Or not the one conducted with SurveyMonkey. NBC tries to trick you, by the way. The SurveyMonkey poll is trash. It's garbage. Their panel is so bad. I'm sorry. I don't mean to like hurt anybody's but if you're an aspiring pollster, I would strongly recommend against that. There's really only one panel provider if you're going to online sample that is like measurably a quality panel. And there are metrics that we use to judge whether or not they are. So in any event, Paul is one of those people because I know I know it. I've just seen the guy in the trenches before. I saw him. He was MAGA before there was a MAGA. And then I'm not at all surprised, one of the first and then last people to land in Georgia and try to stop the steal. He was serious about that, unlike others who just grifted millions and millions of dollars and didn't even show up to the office. So much money was grifted out of the American right to stop the steal when they never had any intention of trying to stop it. All right. So yeah, I mean, what does this exchange tell you? Well, it tells you Paul Dance has a spine, and it tells you Lindsey Graham is nervous. If Lindsey Graham falls below 50, he's going to have to face either Paul Dance or Mark Lynch. And look, he's lucky it's April. He's lucky that it's April, but he is unlucky that it is hard to get the stain of war off of you. It's South Carolina. So like if there is one state where you can get away with being a warmonger, it's just that the state has changed so much. And I'm telling you, I'll leave it at this. I do want to show you something that is kind of important with it. But if Republicans do not swap out the boomer old rhino for a low country generational candidate, they're going to lose South Carolina in the near future. And I'm saying this because the same way I said Alaska with ranked choice voting is inevitably going to throw it to a Democrat. Dan Sullivan is in deep shit right now. Mary Peltola is a serious candidate, and with ranked choice voting, he's down. He's as of now, he'd go down. So like Republicans are way past, and again, they're just out to lunch on all this shit. They're way past the trends in the South. They're going to wait for something like Georgia to happen to another state. That's when they'll wake up. And by that time, they won't even. It'll be too late, and they'll have the wrong solution. This is how they are. They're stupid and they're slow. They're stupid and they're slow. Right? And all of the idiots and grifters get all the money because they're willing to do dirty things. You tell them, no, you're not willing, and you end up, basically, you're not in the grifter club. And unfortunately, as of now, there's exactly one person who said no and is still talking. Technically, there were two people who said no, but one of them's been thrown in the gulag, and you don't hear from them anymore. And he's not the boss, so they can do whatever they want still, and he's got to sit there quietly. Feel really bad for him, honestly. All right, so here is a big thing. This is big. This is a big deal. Immigration is a big deal for South Carolina primary voters. Paul Dance picks up major endorsement and bid to oust Lindsey Graham. Former U.S. Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Gregory Bovino is backing Project 2025 architect and former Trump administration official Paul Dance's primary challenge against neoconservative Senator Lindsey Graham. Link to the full story below. This is a big deal. Bovino is, and look, endorsements, they matter. They certainly do. But it tells you how much steam someone has, and it starts to define some lanes. I mean, I've seen people win without any endorsements. It's just true. So, I always have told you their endorsements are impactful, just not the way people think. But and the party always wins, or the party wins. I forgot. It's the seminal work. It is. It's still, I don't know how much it matters as of today. I think that thesis has been weakened quite a bit in the era of Trump, but nonetheless, only maybe not, because then you have the Trump endorsement. But it does tell you why Bovino is a bit of a symbol for immigration, unapologetic immigration. What's the word? I'm trying to be fair. Unapologetic Trumpism on immigration, and I hate to say Trumpism because Trump caved. Trump caved. Instead of taking the 3 suggestions sitting on the couch that we laid out, which was backed by 160,000 national interviews or something, or 160,000 interviews between the states and the national, something like that. I have to go back and check. It was a huge study. Despite taking that advice, they just caved. And Bovino is a symbol of the person he's the head on the chopping block of the cave. It was very simple. Take the masks off, control the resting environment, and go on how we laid out a PR tour. That's it. It would have been that simple. Americans still supported mass deportations. They did. They just don't support it the way ICE was doing it. And unfortunately, like I said, caving is caving, and caving looks bad. So there you have Paul with the symbol of not caving on one of the most important issues for primary voters. In South Carolina, by the way, accountability shot up. So this idea that Epstein never hurt the coalition is, of course, absolutely ludicrous. It did, and it hurt bad. I just want to make sure I'm not showing any identifiable information here. Let me go to my DMs. It just shows city, state, and zip code, and first name. And I did. Okay, so let me set the scene. we're polling the House District 4 in Kentucky. We have a long way to go. I'll tell you that. We didn't interview that many people yet. And once I get done with the show, I'll go back to fielding again. I try to interview, as some of you actually can attest, because like I've polled on locals, I've had people send me the contact, the invite, like a peer-to-peer invite or something on texting. If you're in a small district or something, like if you live in the 4th, I'm probably going to call you. Not me personally, but one of us will. Why? Because I pulled a huge list. I'm casting a large net to see. I think that it is very likely we will get an incredible turnout in the 4th district, which will be different. If it's low, then I'll actually be stunned, and I'll be more concerned Republicans are going to lose on a level than I even expected them to. There's so much money being thrown into this race, and there's so much interest being thrown into this race. We didn't ask about AIPAC or, certain things like that. I had a lot of reporters asking me this yesterday. We didn't. I jokingly said I figured I'd give the Israel lobby a break from having to call me an anti-Semite. Instead, we asked about ad exposure and the type of ads, the way that they have been contacted, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I tried to do about 5. If I have the time, I'll do more myself. But when you contact people, particularly in texting, most of them will want to just click the link and take the interview, and that's it. And they'll do it online. They may ask a couple of questions, but maybe you have some back and forth. But I'm just going to stop there because we do things a little differently in certain scenarios, and I'm not giving that out. But if we get, I personally want to do like 5 or 10 interactions myself a night, because I'd like to stay connected with the actual voter, and I want to do interviews myself. So what happens with the cool AI that we have is that it will, based on various parameters, detect somebody who is a candidate for me to do that. And then it will ping me and tell me that I have like a lead, I know, it's cool. And it mimics me. So if you're that person, let's say you live in the 4th district right now and this happens and you get flagged, and then I decide I'm going to call you. You don't want to do the interview through online. You want to do a live interview. I am personally going to call you. And it's neat because you won't know the difference. Like the AI colloquially sounds like me. It speaks like me. It types like me. It's crazy. But when I call, it's me, like legitimately me. And people, if they recognize me, they will be like, oh my God, is that real? And I'm like, yeah. And we'll talk. So yesterday I get a flag. And it's funny because I'm just talking to Mike Tracy about the impact of the mishandling of the Epstein situation on Donald Trump and on Republicans, and the narrative that was kind of like laid as a foundation, which was why, by the way, the even limited, which was never going to be limited, strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities were such a catastrophic mistake, because it played into the narrative that was laid as a foundation by the Epstein files. And then now, by the way, this war, it just made it even worse. It's solidified forever. This is Trump's Bush lied, people died. It is. It's Trump's read my lips, no new taxes. Only it's worse because it's a betrayal plus you got like dog walked, and all, by the way, you're protecting pedos and everything, right? So I get this flag, and I'm not going to show you my response and then like the conversation, which I tried to engage in. But I am going to show you the opening of how, like, what flags me. All right. And just to show you, even in Kentucky 4, where it's Thomas Massie is this person's incumbent. And of course, for all the, I don't know what to call them, guys. I mean, if you're one of those people who are like, I don't understand why Epstein hurt Trump. He's the one who released the Epstein files. No, he isn't. Donald Trump got outmaneuvered by Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, and he was forced by petition and congressional action to release what was released. On planet Earth, Donald Trump dragged Boebert and Nancy Mace and that whole clique into the White House and tried to, or called them, and tried to bully them into withdrawing their support for the petition. It is the primary reason MTG is a traitor. And I got to tell you, I mean, for people who know, I've only recently gotten to know Marjorie. I never was like an MTG fan. You know, I've recently, because I wanted both sides of the story. And I know somebody who's very, 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 very close to the president who tried to stop this fight. He did everything in his power because he knew it was BS and it would just hurt the coalition. It was really not about the Senate race or this or that. No, this was about him feeling like she betrayed him, and he said to not only her but others, "You're going to hurt friends of ours." And she's like, "I really don't give a shit. They shouldn't be your friends." That is the right answer. Anywho, there was a super easy way to handle this from Trump. Even if he wanted to try, even if he was concerned about hurting our friends. It's such a tragedy because Epstein, the Epstein files and the Epstein issue had the capacity, had he been true to himself and his voters, had the capacity to destroy all of his enemies. The deep state, the ruling class, the Democratic Party. He had an issue that was capable of doing something no other issue could do. Like, this was it. And he blew it. And now he has this stain on him that is never going away. And it doesn't matter if you think you know better. You don't. You don't interview people like I interview people. You're not as good as I am at this job. This will stain him forever. And this is the kind of stuff we get all the time. So this is a textbook. And by the way, that graphic is animated and it's like pretty neat. But it's like, hey, you know, and I'm not going to give away the guy's last name. Obviously, I had to black him out. All right. It's Rich with Big Data Poll. We're conducting a short poll in the primary. It only takes a few short minutes. I don't want to focus on my prompt because I don't want people to copy it. Look at his reply. Hey, Rich, they're all a bunch of criminals and pedophiles. I hope they burn. Both sides, go fuck yourself. Now, Americans are funny, and we get this kind of stuff all the time. We don't get it this frequent. This is somebody so mad and so betrayed. That's a Trump voter, by the way. This is somebody so mad and feeling so betrayed, he took the time to write that and send it back. Most people just ignore you. We know what the normal reply rates are when it comes to text invites or SMS or MMS invites, peer-to-peer interviews. We know what those rates look like normally. A couple really bad ones in like local elections with certain heated issues. Nothing like this. Any Republican volunteer working the Virginia race in 2025 will tell you. This is bad, and it has persisted, and it has continued. It's one of the primary reasons he has lost key parts of his coalition, and they're not voting. So people like this, I'll get flagged, and I'll specifically want to try to speak to him and talk to him and find out what is happening and what's going on. So that's a perfect example of my, like this is what I'm like. I'll normally interview a couple of, I don't want to say normal, but like maybe their negative sentiment score isn't that high. By the way, all open text, all elaborated interviews, right, are transcribed and thrown through a process that results that we wind up giving or assigning a score like that, a sentiment score. And, 0.03 within that range, like positive to negative 0.03. Most responses, whether they're positive or negative, fall within those bounds. We get this ridiculous sentiment scores. Ridiculous. And when I look at it, it either typically centers around being dog walked by Israel, the Epstein files, Trump not, breaking his promise not to start a new foreign war, not focusing enough on domestic policy when he was supposed to be the America First president. Like, this is, you're blind, deaf, or stupid, or all three, D, all the above, if you don't see it or recognize it right now. And again, it makes no sense to be on a sinking ship and jettison your lifeboats, or on a sinking ship and at least attempt to plug the damn leak, like to fix and address the problem. To just be an ostrich and put your head in the sand, or a clapping seal, which means you're clapping so loud you hear nothing other than your own fake optimism, is just unwise. It doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? Do you think that works? And again, the problem for all these grifts is that this is the United States of America. We're going to have elections. It's going to happen. They're coming. You either wise up and wake up and shut up, because if you've been talking and you haven't understood what's going on and you're clapping like a seal or you're acting like a sycophant, then you should shut the fuck up and listen to smarter people. And then make a plan. Make an action plan. Like, thank God these people aren't in charge of our military. Oh, maybe they are. I can't even imagine in the military identifying a plan and then just not taking action. Where are my vets out there? You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine whatever you did in the military? It's like, here's your objective. Here are the problems in accomplishing that objective. And then just pretending they don't exist? Could you imagine that? Unbelievable. Unreal. All right, I do want to get to the Artemis stuff, but I guess we'll probably, I don't know. It's like, it's already 1:10 and I want to get to your questions. So I'm like trying to figure out when the best time is here. Alex Jones is out there right now. I think he's live right now, because I do want to talk about Artemis II. And I do want to talk about it's not a straight shot to, ooh, that's actually a pretty cool video. I'll probably wind up playing for this for you guys. I love space. When I did get sick of Wall Street and I wanted to go back to college, and I never used my VA or Miss VA, it was like GI Bill. And then like the VA was like, oh, you can turn it into what was called back then Chapter 31. Now it's like Chapter 33 or 35. I don't know. I'm old. But I didn't understand that H-1B visas meant that jobs like that were reserved for foreigners. So they didn't want vets. They like blocked vets from like studying it. But I love space, and I would have loved to have a complete career change and done like aeronautical engineering, which it looks like my son is going to do, which is just brilliant. It's awesome. But anyway, where am I going with this? I think this stuff is cool. And I think Donald Trump, another sad thing here about his tenure is that 100 years from now, we're going to basically say two things about Donald Trump at this point, right? Or two big things. Some people will be like, wow, what a comeback, like what a political comeback. But probably 100 years, guys, we'll probably be saying things like, this was the most consequential space president and in history, like way beyond Kennedy and Nixon, because of what he has done. And then the second thing they'll say is, damn, it's a shame he wasn't dog walked by Israel into a stupid war. He could have been great. Like I know it's really good. They're going to clip it and cry like babies. Tough shit. That's what they'll say. Stupid morons. Nothing you have said has come true. Nothing you have said has come true. Why aren't you humiliated and hiding under a rock right now? Dave Rubin, we're never going to close the Strait of Hormuz. They're never going to close the Strait of Hormuz. You stupid jackass. You paying for anybody's gas bill now, dummy? Why are you still talking? Shut up. Shut up. Let the big boys talk now. Let the adults talk. Fucking Riri's. What does Dave Rubin carry? He's got a wine rack in his house, dude. He's got a wall. It's not even a rack. It's a wall of wine, of fancy wines. What the fuck does he care if your gas goes to $5, $6? Big problem with the right, man. They don't share. Their people don't share anything in common with their actual people. Big problem. It's the whole lesson of the Trump thing. Anywho, that's the sad part, is that Trump did so many big things for space. And 100 years from now, God knows, could you imagine? Like, I kind of, I'm excited for my son and like my kids. They're going to see things, hopefully, if the country doesn't collapse. They're going to, and even if it does, it doesn't matter. They're still going to see these things. They're going to see things that when we're dead is just going to be remarkable. Think about what we see compared to what like our grandparents saw, I imagine space will open up an entirely new world. Like we took this great leap in 50 years back in the 20th century. This great technological leap. And then we kind of like plateaued when it came to stuff like that, like advanced physics, stuff like that. We kind of plateaued for a bit. But I totally agree with Elon Musk. Like at some point we have to work to being a multi-planetary species because planets don't last forever. Suns don't last forever. You don't know what God's plan is. All right. I know. Zionists excluded. You guys know. You're going to force his hand. Yeah. And the left's going to stop the climate from changing by not using plastic fucking straws. Stupid. Anyway, 100 years from now, there's going to be some crazy stuff. And a lot of it, we'll look back and we'll say, well, we won't. I'll be dead. But humans will look back and say, like, wow, if it wasn't for Donald Trump after Obama raided NASA, if it wasn't for Donald Trump putting the space directives back on track, we never would have gotten that telescope in the sky. And if we didn't get that telescope in the sky, we wouldn't know this blue planet is right there. We're going to go visit it. Or we're going to do a long-term expedition to go visit this blue planet that the telescope Donald Trump put into space found. It's remarkable. That's real. So while he was gaslit by all his new neocon friends, let me just tell him, man, that's real, Mr. President. That's real. That's a real legacy. And fucking Iran, you stop them from getting a nuclear weapon? Who gives a fuck? Kim Jong-un has a nuclear weapon. What happened to that? Madman hasn't nuked Seoul yet, dude. This is a real legacy. Did you see that solar shoot on Artemis? That was incredible. That's a real legacy. And by the way, so much of what he's done that led to now, because of Donald Trump, and then of course his like alliance with Elon Musk, another reason why it being sidelined, it being destroyed for a period of 6 months by this is so important, is because they shared that vision and they shared those objectives, those goals, those dreams. And because of it, we're going to get a base on Mars, on the moon. That's going to happen. The lunar landing module is awesome. That's the entire point of why they need to do this with Artemis II. Now you have Alex Jones live right now saying, prepare for disclosure. There's an alien base on the dark side of the moon. You know what? A part of me is like, I don't want to say it's not envious, but like part of me is like, I can't say shit like that, and I can talk about some crazy stuff when it comes to disclosure because I've spoken to these guys, but like, and I've spoken to people about this in both administrations, but it's kind of funny. Like it must be liberating, for Alex Jones to just be like, prepare for disclosure, because once Artemis goes on the other side of that moon, boy, it's on like Kong. Now, they could basically show you whatever they want to show you. So I would not get too excited. But I do think that Donald Trump is moving in a direction which I'm set to move in. I've flatly told him, like, what can we do? I'm like, tell the world aliens exist. There you go. You're a legend, no matter what you've done. Now, no one's gonna forgive you for that shit, but you're a legend. You're forever the most consequential president ever. All right. So forget about like being gaslit into believing that if you started the Iran war, this will really make you the most consequential president ever. But check out this thing from Artemis. I'm like marveling at the technology of it. You have to understand, I'm a nerd. I love calculus. I think I like, obviously, statistics I like more, but that, of course, plays into it too. But geometry, Euclid, brilliant. Like, I am a bit of a nerd. I may not like fit the normal bill of a nerd, but I just think this is so amazing how we can do this, and we cannot do it without our mathematicians and our engineers. It's a remarkable feat. And again, because of Trump, rededicating resources, attention, political interest, all of that. Like, Democrats just don't give a shit at all. All they care about is, and somehow they care about climate change. So, okay, I never understood this. AOC, a couple of years ago, the planet was going to end in 12 years. You're not interested in becoming a multiplanetary species? Like, I just don't understand what constitutes progressive thought in this department. If you think that the ozone layer, the atmosphere, is going to crumble and we're all going to die of greenhouse gases or weather changes or tectonic plate shifts, why don't you want to go to Mars? Like, why don't you want to explore space? Why don't you want to be a planetary species? Like, because I call bullshit. You have to be full of shit to say you believe something like that, yet you don't support this agenda, this grand agenda of becoming a multiplanetary species. You're full of shit. I call bullshit. I don't think you're honest. I don't think you're being honest. I think you're grifting for political gain. Like, the green agenda is the red agenda, and it's all a grift. And that's it. Because if they were earnest, if they were sincere, they would absolutely be all on board with this. But the truth is, the Democratic Party is not. The Democratic Party would rather rape the NASA budget and put it into their new scheme of leveling than anything, which ends up not even being a scheme of leveling. Instead, it ends up being a scheme of funding stuffing the pockets of their friends. Another thing that is just, I probably will read Cernovich's tweet, because I do think we have to address it, because when you look at the replies that we get every day, guys, I mean, the people, like what Mike Cernovich tweeted the other day, really, really speaks for a lot of people, but I don't want to get on that yet. We'll come back to that in a second. Here it is. NASA put this out. I just think it's fascinating. I don't know if you guys saw it. I love this shit. I'm such a nerd. I was thrilled when my son was like, Dad, I think I want to be an aerospace engineer. Like, I don't want to go on the ships, but I'll build them. Because at first I was, go to Space Force, dude. Join Space Force. Be a math geek. You'll end up on an exoplanet somewhere. It'll be awesome. Like, what 16-year-old kid doesn't think, or boy, doesn't, at least, sorry, ladies, doesn't think that's like the dopest life trajectory ever. I would totally, if I could redo my life in the future, I would totally be like a Space Force, like Marine or something like that. Totally. Shit, without gravity, in zero gravity, maybe I wouldn't have broke my shit, Technically, gravity had a lot to do with my injury. All right, here we go. Look at this. So they're saying that it's not a direct or straight trip to the dark side of the moon. This is the actual flight plan. Insane, right? Why? Because what are they doing? I noticed, and I'm sure a lot of other people did too. It's going to go again. Because I wanted to show it, and now I want to repeat it so I can show you what they're doing. So a lot of people noticed that when Artemis took off, it got to about 8,000 miles per 10,000, 15, whatever it was. I think what was the top speed? I think it was like 18.5 before it backed off and started to slow down. And people were like, I don't understand. Why is it slowing down? Well, it had to make these maneuvers. It's using the Earth's gravity to pick up speed and slingshot. And then it will use the moon's gravity, all right, going around the dark side of the moon to slingshot back. And it will pick up speed after it gets that bump from gravitational force. So like, watch. So here they take off. Boom, they're up. They're doing like 18.5. They start to slow down now. They're slingshotting, making that elliptical orbit, getting more speed, picking up more speed. They slow down here. They're going to grab more speed now and slingshot. 6 days. Start to slow down a little bit, pick up some more speed from the moon, slingshot. And back to planet Earth. How dope is that? That's amazing. I know it's like, oh, Rich, you're nerding out a little bit. Yeah, damn right I am. That's incredible. That's so cool. And it's like, guys, like we went from like, even before the Manhattan Project, if you look at like America's like technological trajectory, like we went from what effectively was the Stone Age, to, effectively the Stone Age to this, to being able to calculate trajectories like this and understanding that you can use a celestial body's mass and gravity, because the mass obviously would impacts gravity. You can use the celestial gravity to gain speed in space travel. It's just awesome. It's awesome. Also, it's perspective. And then look, if you're a flat earther, I'm sorry to deal with the next video, but here are the Artemis crew where they take their first images from space, right? And what do they say? Suddenly we're up there with them and they see like this tiny little dot, you can see Earth. It's just so cool. All right, let's get rid of this one. Let's put this up. It's only 36 seconds.
Pale blue dot seen through the crew's eyes, and suddenly we're up there with them. Humanity is cheering, not just for the crew, but for what they have carried with them. And that's all of us.
Yep.
We also have a second image that was taken by
our
Commander Reed Weissman. Our home planet is watching and cheering them as they get closer to the moon. In this single frame, it wasn't Earth that they just captured. It was a reminder that no matter how far we go, we are still one world, watching, hoping, and reaching higher.
All right, I just want to say something on that because, normally I hate that kumbaya shit. We're one world, one life. Let's get together and feel all right. Normally I don't like that shit, but the truth is, it reminds me of like Reagan's speech to the United Nations, which I'm sure Alex Jones probably quoted 80 times already in his like "Get Ready for Aliens" video today. When Reagan said, I can't help but to think of a scenario in which we are confronted by an extraterrestrial threat and how suddenly our differences become trivial. And we're all of a sudden members of a species, or, and not a race. And I think, to tie this into all of the political stuff, I think that's probably what saddens me most about watching the crumbling of the Trump coalition is the retraction or regression of the Republican loyalists, the Republican base, whatever you want to call it, the coalition itself, to a hive mind, predominantly white and old, because bridging the gap between urban and rural means a more stable society. Bridging the gap between white and Hispanic means a more stable society. And for people who are just like, we're just going to deport everyone, let me bring you back to planet Earth, all right? Like the Artemis II crew is going to have to do in a couple of days. Bro, you couldn't deport a Somali fraud population that stole billions of dollars from you. All right. You're not deporting the population of the Rio Grande. Like, it's not happening. Okay. Like, you could take your head out of your ass now and you could try to figure out how to deal with the problem realistically going forward. And the way to deal with it was the way Trump was dealing with it when he was running for office in 24, and the way he was dealing with it when he governed for the first like 5 months, if that. It's not this. When we just go back to hating all of these different groups, like what I'm watching right now is the right blaming the other for their failure that they don't want to acknowledge. They want to pretend they're winning, so they're going to make an enemy out of every other they can find. So the citizens of Dearborn voted by plurality, but voted for Donald Trump. Fuck them. We're deporting the Muslims. No, you're not, right? You're angry, and you're angry with who? And you don't want to acknowledge that. So instead, you want to pretend like we have this massive Islamist problem that doesn't exist. All right. I mean, of course, there will be one if we allowed free flow. I am not. I wish we had an immigration policy that mirrored Japan, which is one that doesn't allow Islamic immigration. I do, because I just don't think Eastern philosophies are compatible with our philosophy. They're not. And we can deal with small populations and assimilating them. I think Trump was proving that before he went down the wrong path. But we cannot deal with huge influxes of people who actively want to breed us out of existence or whatever. There's multiple different ways that they see ending our civilization, right? In our views, our worldviews, how they intend to conquer the infidels, sometimes with violence and sometimes just with sex and birth, which they're doing, by the way. But there's like a happy medium is what I'm saying here. And it's not just that. It's like one of the worst ones is like Venezuela. Well, fuck them. Deport them all back to Venezuela. We'll kill Maduro and we'll deport them all. You mean the Venezuelans who supported you by 70+% in the 2024 election? That's who you want to deport? You want to deport your own voters? I mean, we're just hearing all sorts of dumb shit, irrational blaming of the others. We're regressing into this. You cannot, again, this is something we address and Burn It Down a lot. I don't think that the right, especially people who pretend to be me, they don't have a good grasp on projecting the electorate and what the country will look like. It's not just population changes and demographic changes through the census and over time. Who votes at what rates do they vote? This will change. Our country will change dramatically. Our elections will change dramatically just within the next decade. And to regress like this because you're taking a tantrum and you don't want to admit that you failed at mass deportations, you failed at X, you failed at Y, you failed at Z, is not the way to go. And I also am primarily concerned that the people who are responsible for this failure and the people who are responsible for the breaking up of the coalition are the ones pointing fingers at the others. There is already, in case you can't see it, there is already a concerted effort to blame other people for what they have done. This is on them. It's all on them. Their advisors told Donald Trump to mishandle the Epstein files in the way he did. Their advisors gave no president and no administration should meet with a leader of any foreign nation the amount of times that Donald Trump met with Benjamin Netanyahu in his first year. That is unheard of. And it's outrageous. It takes way too much time away from the business at hand. And now they know it. And they're desperate to avoid being blamed for destroying the Trump coalition. Even though any thinking person with an IQ over 40 knows that. But it'll be Somali's fault. It'll be Muslims' fault. It'll be Muslim sympathizers' fault. It'll be the Hispanics. It's Myra Flores. It's Tucker Carlson. It's Nick Fuentes. It's this one. It's that one. It's the People's Pundit. Yeah, okay. It was you. It's you, Ted Cruz. It's you, Lindsey Graham. It's you, Howard Lutnick. And honestly, at the end of the day, the president is the decision maker, regardless of what, I understand the debate over this system and whether or not the president is even in control of everything at all times. The president's in control. I refuse to believe that, especially this president. He ultimately rationalized his way into this. He did. Joe is right. They played him. But he let himself get played. You have to. He's still the president of the United States. I don't care how many aircraft carriers they sent there without your explicit permission. Turn the fuck around. End of story. So where am I going? What am I saying? You can't just blame everyone else because you don't want to blame Donald Trump. The voters will blame Donald Trump. The voters are blaming Donald Trump. They're all a bunch of criminals and pedophiles, and I hope he said that I hope that they burn is what he meant. Both sides, go F yourself. Dude is textbook demographic, hardcore Trumper. Primary voting, everything. That's not some low propensity voter who is just pissed off. That's a major problem. And he's not alone, and that's why we're seeing so many primary elections end up with humiliating turnout rates. Humiliating. It's all right, Wonton. Can't be them. They're not back yet. The family's coming back today, but they're not back yet. Can't be. There's no way she made it in 50 minutes ahead of schedule. Honestly, they shouldn't have gone. I know they wanted to go see. I understand it, but the little one was sick, and it's Easter Sunday in 2 days. Excuse me. We have a lot to do. A lot. And I'm worried this kid was sick, and now I'm worried he's going to be miserable during Easter Sunday. I feel bad for him because when I was his age, I either got sick on Easter break, on spring break, which was Easter break. I grew up in a Catholic place. You don't say spring break. It's Easter break. By the way, we may wind up doing something real quick this weekend. Do you believe in the resurrection? Something akin to the Christmas poll. We may, if I can put it together. It's just, we're doing the 4th district, and I don't know how much I'd be able to there's some private things we're doing, obviously, too, which pay the bills, and I don't know how much I could do all at once, but I know that I'd like to do it. We usually do that once a year. Do you believe in the resurrection? You're going to celebrate Easter. Yes. Are you going to celebrate it today? Eastern Orthodox has Easter 2 weeks from now, basically, right? It's 2 weeks. It's been a long time since I've observed any other. I did have, obviously, for those who don't know, obviously I was predominantly raised Italian, so Roman Catholic, but I did have family who were Eastern Orthodox as well. He's a Russian! No. I knew it! He's a Putin puppet! Guy's got anti-Semitism in his DNA. Okay. Where are Mark? Where are the uprisings? Every day I'm going to do this. Where are the uprisings, Mark and Lindsey and Dave Rubin, from the newly liberated Iranians that you promised the president and that the White House waited for desperately for 72 hours? Where are the uprisings? Have we checked with BB for an update on this? Like I said the other day, I would just prefer it if you just told us this check was going to bounce, bro. All right? And then you get some idiots like, I don't know if you noticed, but the Crown Prince told them to wait. And Trump told them to wait. Stop it. Just stop it. Just stop it. Come back to reality. Stop. Both Donald Trump and the Crown Prince called on them to rise up and take their country back. They only said it later to wait until hostilities have ended because it wasn't coming. And they didn't want to look stupid, so they changed their tune. So they didn't look like they were calling for an uprising that they figured out damn well wasn't coming. Honestly, guys. Like, honestly. All right, here it is. Where is it? Where is it? There is a tweet that I definitely need to where is it? Come on now. Here it is. I think it is. Here we go. Nope, that's not the one. Come on. David, you watching, brother? You know what Cerno tweet I'm looking for. Where the hell is this tweet? It's big. It's I want to show it because it's the this is it. It is, and look at the replies. People are just so stupid. Not all people, but like there are just some people who are just really, really stupid. Let me just take a screenshot of it and then I'll put it up. Okay. I just think it's highly relevant and it's what we hear every day, and it's a big problem, and it's something that like needs to be addressed. When I point out these problems, I'm not doing it to say, ha ha. I'm doing it to say, fix it. Fix this. Because if you don't, there's basically no way to motivate these people to vote. If you don't fit, it's like, oh, you know what? Don't, Liz, that's only 5%. Only 8% care about this. Only 2% care about that. Only 10% care about that. I literally saw replies to a poll where they're like, it's only like 20% of independents. Dude, you realize how many you just sliced off? What percentage you just sliced off your coalition with that little rant? Like half. And Cernovich says, the corruption within the Trump administration has demoralized me in a way my enemies never could. Our enemy is evil. They serve the demons. We know what we are up against. Fighting them is virtuous. Treason and betrayal hit differently. It always does. And I saw that. And first of all, you know, I did respond to him, like replied to him separately, but I also did quote tweet him because he nailed something. First of all, I don't know if you agree with, I think obviously Mike does, but I view the world the same way. Maybe we don't see it on an every day, but I am a spiritual guy and I do see this very much as a spiritual battle. I just don't run around talking about how I'm going to force God's hand and usher in end days by helping the Jews, who may or may not be the Jews of the Bible, commit a genocide so they can occupy all of Palestine so I can usher in the return of the Christ. I do see a spiritual battle, however, in our day-to-day life and day-to-day politics. So, you know, laugh it up, whatever. I don't really care. I do see it that way. I don't think aliens are demons, however. Maybe because, oh no, I'm not kidding, and I'm joking, but I'm not joking. There is and if you were to talk to Lou Elizondo, or you were to talk to Jay Stratton, any of them, they'll tell you that there absolutely is this like fanatical Christian Zionist sect in the Defense Department who thinks that extraterrestrials are, that thinks UAPs, that demons are behind UAPs. And that's why they don't want to study them or take them seriously or make this widespread, because you're not supposed to give the devil attention. Listen, if extraterrestrials are real and they turn out to be demons, I will apologize for giving them attention. But I think we should be giving attention to anything that flies indiscriminately without fear of any repercussions in our airspace. I think it is unwise to ignore that. If they turn out to be, Lucifer pilots, it's so ridiculous. I will apologize and admit I was wrong, as I am apparently the only one or very few people who are capable of admitting when they were wrong. Okay, so that's a few things. That's one thing out of the way that just because it does, like, if you just read it outright, some people are like, what the hell is he talking about? That's weird, man. That's crackpot shit. And then you don't think of the rest of it. Whether you agree with Mike or I is irrelevant when it comes to that, but what he says here is basically that, like, let me put it in another way for like somebody who may not believe in that. You know your enemy. You know why you're fighting against your enemy. You expect your enemy to behave a certain way, and that it almost doesn't bother you anymore. And that's actually what I wrote in reply to it, right? We kind of become conditioned when you're in the fight this long. We become conditioned even to like the most egregious behavior, even when it happens, or they cross a Rubicon or something, because you know the enemy and you expect it. But betrayal, when he says treason and betrayal hit differently, it always does. And I think that sums up a theme that is central to the disaffected voters that we've been talking to. They feel betrayed. And sometimes that leads to anger. But that's not, I wouldn't even say anger. I wouldn't use that. If I had one word to describe it, I think I would use the word disappointment. If I had two words, I would say debilitating disappointment or devastating disappointment, to the point where, like, they'll never vote again, maybe. Like, I don't know what it's going to take at this point. I don't think anybody knows. If you think like, oh, we just need the economy to come back, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. That will help with a certain group. And I talked about this with several shows, and I've talked about it on other people's shows, and I've talked about it with you. I brought it up with Jack and Benji the other day. She's great, by the way. I'm like, where did I know this girl from? And then it dawned on me, she's the one who got suspended for doing a Charlie Kirk tribute at the end of her show. It was very heartfelt. So then she quit. She was like, up yours, I'm leaving. Goat. Total goat move. Anyway, betrayal is an entirely different wound. And unless you've ever been betrayed, like maybe even personally, because I do think these voters take it personally. I don't think. They take it personally. Betrayal hits differently. He's right. Because it's a different wound. It cuts deeper. And it cuts a totally different part to it. It like impacts a totally different part. You know what to expect from your enemies, like I said. And the harm they do, you become almost conditioned to. Especially when you've been in the fight as long as Mike and myself. But betrayal never gets easier. Never. It's just something different. I think that's probably one of, I'm going to go ahead and call this, as far as not data analytics or anything like that, just take, like a theme-based take, right? I'm trying to think of how to put this.
a take that goes towards like overarching themes in politics and elections, not psephology and not who's crunching the data and has the most profound discovery in the data. I'm just simply talking about a take that is addressing an overarching theme. And of course, we do have themes in our elections. We tell ourselves stories. Candidates tell us stories. Parties do, right? That's how our elections really, that's how they work. There's always a story. That's why I tell you, like, the presidential justification is a huge part of the story. Why is it you for this moment? Why does it have to be you? Why should Americans choose you? How are you going to bring them forward? What vision are you going to give them for the country? There are themes, always. And I'm telling you this, I'm going to go ahead and call this tweet the top tweet dealing with the current theme. This is the most profound one dealing with the current theme. I'm sure there are others who have stated it in different ways. And if you have, good for you. I'm not trying to leave you out. I'm just saying I saw Mike's. This captures it. And when you realize that that's how people feel, like Donald Trump ran against war. He ran against corruption. He ran for accountability. He ran to put the forgotten men and women first, not the lobbyists, not the grifters, not the foreign agents, not the insider traders. And once voters realize, like Mike has realized, they did not deliver on this, that's how they feel. And I don't know how to fix that at this point. I don't know. I just don't, guys. I'm not sure there is a way. How does George Bush fix read my lips, no new taxes? How? How does George W. Bush fix Bush lied, people died? Even the Enron narrative wasn't entirely true, but it stuck, didn't it? Did Dick Cheney ever live that down? No. Do we have my Dick Cheney burns in hell video? No. I mean, it's all in good fun. I don't mock people like that, but like, it was all in good fun. Little devil was dancing on his shoulder and shit. Flames. It was all in good fun. I'm not pulling like a leftist thing where it's like, I'm glad, no. You're never glad somebody loses the greatest gift God's ever given them. That's all this is anyway. It's just, that's what life is. It's a gift. Which is why I'm pro-life and I don't believe in abortion. I don't believe that it is your decision to take that from anybody. We only get, as far as we know, we only get one. You just took, like, you're taking the one chance at God's greatest gift from a defenseless entity, a defenseless human being. It's disgusting. I'm ashamed of myself that I ever was pro-choice. And I was when I was young. I was raised in the Northeast. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, especially in the 90s, where they started sitting you down and like your gym teacher doubled as your health teacher. Your gym coach doubled as your health teacher. And they told you, like, don't forget to use condoms. Rich, stop staring at what's her name. But if she buckles, don't forget to use condoms. And if you screw up, don't worry. It's just a blob of cells. She doesn't have to waste her life on it. Like, that's how we were raised. And not raised in the school. That is what we were taught. It's not how I was raised. I was raised Catholic. But you justify that shit as a young man until, of course, and I've never had a girl have an abortion. Not that I know of. God, some girl will come forward like, I had an abortion with Richard's baby in 1997. Not that I know of. Have I ever had one of my babies aborted by a female? But I do remember a scare, and that was the conversation. And then I remember Laura and I going into the ultrasound from my oldest son, who is now 16. And I was already kind of like off the pro-choice train, like I maybe with exceptions, like more exceptions than most people think now. And it was early, really early. And they do the ultrasound, which I still have a picture of course. And I see is like a little face. Is it like a completely developed human face? No, but it's a face. It's a baby. And it just like dawned on me. They're full of shit. Oh my God. They really are baby killers. You know? And you always made fun of all those like crazy Christians at the abortion clinic throwing piss at people, you know? And then it really dawns on you, oh my God, they were right. They're baby killers. Oh my God, that's a baby. He was young. I mean, we're not talking about like a 20-something week ultrasound. This was like maybe. It was young. A little heartbeat. One of the most beautiful sounds in the world, by the way. They got the strongest heartbeats. We only get weaker as we come out, huh? And then it was maybe a couple weeks later too, because there was an issue. A couple of weeks later, we go back and I can see he's developed even more. And he's got his little undeveloped hand on his head like this, like a Mr. Drama Queen. You know? And like from a profile, I could like tell what he looked like. And that's been it. It's been it ever since. It's been it ever since. I'm like pretty radical when it comes to being pro-life. I am. I know a police officer. His mother was raped. She kept the baby. He's one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. Super nice guy. Genuinely. Have you ever met somebody who's like so nice? It's weird at first. Maybe it was weird to me because of where I'm from, but it was like weird at first. It reminds me of like the Friendly Friendlies. When I was very young, my friend who was going to college in Boston, I took him up there and we drove up and I was going through, I want to say it was Connecticut or something. I don't know, some rural New England Friendlies that we stopped at. And because I wanted to go see some parts of New England too, like Vermont and stuff. So we kind of did that and went up other places. And it was like this woman just walks up, you know, and she's like, "Hi. Welcome to Friendlies. What can I get you guys today?" And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm from New York. I'm like, whoa. What is she trying to scam off of me? Check my pockets, man. Check my wallet. While she was smiling, she took something. Weird, you know? It's part of where you come from. It's just like a bit of a culture shock. She just happened to be like an amazingly nice woman. This guy is like one of those people. Not outwardly like that, but I mean, like, it's unbelievable how much he cares about other people and how much he puts extra into other things that he does. You know, cops, like, I'll lament about it, and I know other cops do too. Like, somehow they're truancy officers, they're law enforcement officers. Now they're marriage counselors and child psychologists. You know, it's like ridiculous how much we expect from our police. He's like okay with it, and he'll go above and beyond. It's amazing to me. Like, if his mother was just like, I was raped, I'm getting rid of it, he'd never be around. And then all of the people that he helped, especially because he deals with so many of the horrors of immigration, illegal immigration. I just can't even imagine it. What would have happened to those people if he wasn't alive? I don't know. So then again, no offense, you know, ladies. I mean, look, I get it. Like, you know, I'm a man, and I mean, I can talk about this in a way that I'll never understand because I'm, you know. But you know, you got to admire, like, the woman is a saint. And because of her saintly decision, like the world got just a wonderful soul. It's a wonderful guy. I don't know, so that's me. That's where I'm at. All right, let's get to the comments here. Boom. Offline, Rich, when you are done, listen to Barnes on with Colonel Daniel Davis, currently live. Scorched Earth, brother. I will check it out. Are they on locals right now, bro? Let me go check it. Or is he on, let me go to Barnes. He'll probably have tweeted it. Let's go check it out. He put up the poll thing. Oh my God. The double haters dislike Republicans and Democrats. That's what a double hater is. In 2016, they were Trump plus 17. In 2018, Dem plus 1. 2020, Biden plus 15. 2022, GOP plus 15. In 24, Trump won them by a record 23 points. They're currently Democrat plus 31. I'm retweeting this. Good job, Clapping Seals. I don't know that we have them that much. Actually, I could check right now what my double haters are. Hold on. You want me to check? I can check right now. I can sign in a market site and see what our double haters are. But I don't know. Let's see. I guess it's on locals, all right? Because I'm not seeing it on Rumble. But I will. I'll check it out. I always go back and watch Robert's stuff when we're overlapping. Will do. How did Trump let it go this way? Oil 110, missing pilot, America's Ukraine, an easy war rep, and Trump lost me Mexican Clark County. Yep. Yeah. What a mess. It's all gone, Wilmer. It's all gone, bro. Like, it's all gone. I don't think these idiots understand that. It's all gone. Hispanics are back to Mitt Romney levels. 27%. Stupid bastards. Wasted everything for Benjamin Netanyahu and Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and Mark Levin. I was talking to Poso the other day. Wilmer and Wilmerman Jarez 533. By the way, thank you all for your super chats and your tips on locals and your Rumble rants. I was talking to Poso the other day, and it's like, if I was a real dick, I would just blast all these, blast personal messages I have. Like, I'm just not one of those guys. It's just unbelievable to me. Unbelievable that he, not just Trump, but others, didn't listen to the people who were right, supported him. He got where he was, helped him get where he was, defended him, defended his voters, knew what time it was in the country. It's unbelievable to me because of the things that I have, the things that have been said, for him and others in his administration to put these people up on a pedestal is unfathomable to me. And not just because of the betrayal of it all, because it's stupid and he's not a stupid guy. Donald Trump has great political instincts. Like, I have people ask me all the time, and I talk to people about this all the time. What is in his head? Like, what I think I know, and I think I've told you guys, especially on road rages before. I really believe it. I think that's what's going on. I think he got shook. And turns out Donald Trump's human. But it's remarkable how he just kept going, like one of the dumb seals on Twitter. Like one of the stupid clapping seals on social media. Like, he just kept going. Like, you expect it from them. They're idiot wannabes who don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. Like, you don't expect it from him. He's smart. And yet he knows. So when you're like, this is what's going to happen, Mr. President. This is what's going to happen, Mr. Vice President. If you do that, this is going to happen. And they know. They just know. And they do it anyway. You have to conclude something else is going on. There's no other logical explanation.
which is why Barnes and I said, oops, we were wrong about that. Turns out you can't trust them. Turns out those values really were made up 40 years ago. Bullshit. Total bullshit. We got scammed. Yeah. Yep. Disgusting, Stephen. Isn't it though? Like guys, I really hate to break it to you, but like a lot of your so-called like male conservative influencers are like gay. Like you would be, Milo is not full of shit. Like you would be surprised. Their husbands, their boyfriends, their, guys. And yet you'll find them in downtown Phoenix on a stage in a fur coat, in tighty whities, lip syncing to some gay 90s friggin' song. So it doesn't at all surprise me to see Kristi Noem's cuckold husband running around with a booby holder. Which is why, by the way, again, this is why Americans, we talk about why the body of Christ before Easter here is a great comment. The body of Christ is struggling in this country. Number one, Christians are judgmental. Number two, Christians are hypocrites. You can get caught getting your shit pushed in as a married man wearing a friggin' girdle as long as you're okay with kicking Turkey out of NATO. It's a fraud, man. It's an absolute fraud. The damage is already done. It is already done. And this is why you see all these, I'm on these shows yesterday and I'm trying to be nice about it, but it's like, what do you make of him getting rid of Pam Bondi? What do you make of him getting rid of Kristi Noem? He's cleaning house in an attempt that he knows Democrats are taking over. He's got to get rid of them now so they can't drag them before Congress. He's cutting loose his dead weight. The problem is I'm very concerned he's going to cut loose people that are good. Well, so far, no. But of course, he kicked out Kristi Noem because she's dirty and because Democrats have a stack this high of impeachment articles. And they intended to drag her before Congress, impeach her, and expose everything her and Corey were doing to everybody. Next up was Pam Bondi. He knows this now. You think Barnes and I have been friggin' lying for a year? We haven't been. Everything we told you was true. Everything the apologists and the sycophants and the clapping seals told you was bullshit. We knew. Emerald Robinson knew. Pam Bondi was next, turning the DOJ into a cash register, letting the antitrust division get turned into a pay-for-play scheme for fake MAGA grifters like Mike Davis to turn for his woke corporate clients. He was next. Pam Bondi was next. And they're still going to do it. The pardons come after that. How are you going to fire a pardon? That's what Mike Cernovich, by the way, is talking about. Mike knew a lot of this. How are you going to fire that? One of his favorite little tweeters that he allows her to run all over the Pentagon. Let's see how she handles it when the Democrats subpoena her. Because she's getting subpoenaed. How do you think that's going to go over? You think that's going to be particularly sympathetic to the American audience? They had a plan this time. I told you when this government first got sworn in January, that last time in 2016, everyone mocked everything and it looked like Democrats were completely floundering, but they understood something that Republicans just didn't see and most pundits didn't see, that in truth, Americans were not ready for that kind of destabilizing change. And that as long as they just rocked the boat like crazy, Americans would wear down, they would lose their resolve, and they would get sick of it. Especially since Donald Trump wasn't particularly liked.
And I told you when this government was sworn in that if I saw something that Democrats had seen and would exploit, I would tell you. And I told you. I got called a panicking and all this other shit. Look where we are now, dummies. Look where we are now. Democrats immediately saw this. They said, we're seizing the anti-war, we're seizing the antitrust, we're seizing the Epstein class. And we're coming at him differently. We're going to go at him, all chip around his administration. By the time we're done with him, his own voters are going to be like, what the f? It's exactly what they were doing. They're going to do it anyway. Nobody wanted to hear it. Now look at you, you stupid morons. Now look at you. For what? Hewlett Packard to cut him a check because he went on War Room and screamed about lawfare? You let some piece of shit nursing home slumlord get away with the most filthy, disgusting conditions you would never put your mother, father, grandma, grandpa in? Forgotten man and woman, my ass. They're forgotten now, aren't they? Because they'll never collect on that. Damn right, I'll let him have it, Ginger. This is ridiculous. Welcome aboard, Gray. Welcome aboard. Oh, you gifted. Oh, my man. Appreciate that, bro. When will Trump silence sedition with the war powers? Never. He's never doing this shit. You still haven't even been told. They're getting ready to fire Gabbard, and Gabbard's the only one who can coherently tell you the story of what really happened in 2020. Which I'm not sure the country will even care about anymore, but it is important because Act Blue, with this story broke just earlier this week. And the Democrats are like, oh, it was an accounting error. We didn't realize the CCP was in here. Bull. The Democratic Party is run by the CCP. But Gabbard doesn't get along with Bondi. Bondi doesn't get along with Gabbard. Ratcliffe is Netanyahu's guy. Nobody can get their story straight. Everybody wants the credit. It obviously should go through Gabbard. She should tell the story. And oh, by the way, you get rid of Tulsi Gabbard, Mr. President, and you will have nobody you can trust to send down to Georgia. Because he's obsessed with telling the story of what happened in 2020. Let her tell the story. Get all these scumbags off her back. We should have known this already. I know it. Other people should have known it. 16 centers across the country in battleground states and in non-battleground states, including one in Alaska. I think he should do that before he tries to, deal with War Powers Act and sedition. The problem, honestly, that is the only way. He doesn't have the support to do this now, though, Gray. He doesn't. He should have went balls to the wall in the beginning. Instead, he should have told these guys when they came to town in March and April of last year to go pound sand. I have a country to save. I can't get prosecutions for seditious conspirators through crooked judicial systems, the crooked judiciary, which is corrupted from juror to judge. I can't get accountability through that corrupt system. So while my approval rating is plus 18, I'm going to invoke this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to ignore judges. Like under 40, 65% said do. Now he doesn't have the political capital to do it. He'd do it. He'll end up castrated politically. He doesn't have the power. I hate to say it. Think about this, though. Come on. Think about this for a second. You have Pam Bondi. She blows the Bindergate situation. Then she just one after the other, just continues to blow the handling of the Epstein situation following that.
She, again, turns the DOJ into a personal cash register. What happened to antitrust is an abomination. None of that gets her fired. She humiliates the president in front of Congress, makes a fool out of herself, doesn't get fired. The Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg are knocking down everybody's door to hear about what happened with Davis and antitrust. That doesn't get her fired. Finally, after all of this laundry list of FU MAGA, not IOU MAGA, FU MAGA, a laundry list of this, then she finally gets fired because the president suspects she leaked something to Eric Swalwell, which was a tip-off. She tipped off Eric Swalwell, who banged Fang Fang, a Chinese spy, while he was on the House Intelligence Committee. I mean, she F's up the indictment against James Comey, which was a fake indictment to string along people. Lawyer up, motherfucker. Remember that, Mike Davis? Lawyer up. What a joke. That was a fake indictment to string you along so he and others could keep cashing in. And you thought you were getting accountability. Con. You got conned. The president himself got conned. None of that gets her fired. Leaking to Swalwell about the Fang Fang investigation gets her fired. Did we ever really land on the moon? I do believe we landed on the moon. Now, I understand why people don't. And honestly, kill a president, you can get you're willing to pull off anything. I don't trust the government at all. I don't even buy the Pearl Harbor story. It's not even that I don't buy it. It's a fake story. Franklin Delano Roosevelt could not bring the United States into World War II. He desperately wanted to because, like his predecessor, Woodrow Wilson, they were racist and believed in the supremacy of the Anglo-American relationship. And they wanted to help Britain. But we had treaties. We had deals. So instead, he put sanctions on Japan that he knew damn well would leave them no choice but to attack us. By the way, one of the big talking points is how dirty Japan was. They leveled that attack as we were in negotiating with their Japanese diplomats. Where's Crisis in U.S. Foreign Policy? Michael Hunt. It must be in the library. I don't have it handy. If you want to read it, that's a great book. Crisis in U.S. Foreign Policy, Michael Hunt. You will read the diplomatic cables. You will read the minutes to the diplomatic meetings. And we're always like, what a scumbag. Japan's just, how dare they? How dishonorable. What did we just do to Iran? But I would absolutely, I wouldn't be surprised at all, Gray. You know, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Oh, okay. I went down the wrong ones. My bad. Where is Laura? She'll be back soon. Oh, they should be home pretty soon, actually. Owen Troyer said there's an appetite from both sides to see Trump impeached. Yes, there's probably about 10% on the right now that is like really like at this point, they kind of want Trump impeached. I would say like 5 to 10%. It's not huge, but it's going to grow. It's going to grow. The CPAC incident was a preview. I think Trump will be convicted. I do too. I think Trump is going to be convicted. And my concern is that this little pivot to Rubio, it's been an underhanded backstabbing piece of shit thing going on for a long time now. It's been a bias in the White House. But it's more than just, I think I have a bias toward Rubio. Someone's got to hold the bag. Who do you think, once he's removed, who do you think the establishment is going to want to hold the bag? Who's the fall guy? The vice president. Because they hate him because they don't like America First. They don't like, well, you know, I'm not even going to call it MAGA. MAGA's brand is cooked. MAGA's brand is done. It's dead. Most of Republicans who identify with America First, MAGA, don't identify with MAGA anymore. Because you know why? I'll tell you why. MAGA means you're mindless and you believe Trump no matter what, and your principles aren't really principles. They flow in the wind. Whatever Trump says goes. America First believes in the actual America First platform. We've been polling this now for a while, for months. It's very clear. And we are the single pollster to first ask, do you identify with America First or MAGA? We are the first pollster ever to ask that question. We asked it in our tracking poll And we asked it in primary polling in 2016. Tulsi needs to go. This has tarnished her too much, so much. This is the problem. Like, we're killing all of the I mean, that's why it's like you don't want Tulsi to go because, you know, Tulsi leaves, Kennedy leaves. That's all of Maha. That's all of the crossover part of the MAGA coalition. It's dead. And it is the MAGA co. It's like this part of how we define MAGA. It is part of the MAGA coalition because these crossovers, these new voters, they were only coming over because of America First, the idea of putting America first. No new wars. Lobbyists shouldn't be able to poison our children with unhealthy food and dangerous drugs that they force on us with mandates. Those two things alone, no new stupid wars, and lobbyists, big corporations and their lobbyists should not be able to poison us with unhealthy food and dangerous drugs that they mandate us to take. Those two things alone expanded the coalition. We went over all this. I don't even know why this is debatable. You know, it's so funny, these people on social media and their hot takes. When you poll an election within 1/10 of a percentage point, you can pretend to be an authority. We've been over this already. We know exactly who was attracted by Maha. We know exactly who was attracted only to the America First message. So whether or not they say, yeah, I'm MAGA, or they say they're an independent and they're not, and they lean maybe this way or whatever, they were only coming over because of the MAGA message. So of course they are part of the MAGA coalition. Ugh. And so if she leaves, it's like, oh my God, the deep state's just totally run. If Gabbard goes, the deep state is totally run by. But if she stays, it's one more example of us tarnishing and like ruining the future and aspirations of the most talented people on the bench. Clip that. All right. Let's go to locals. Woo. We got, oh my goodness gracious. We're so cooked, it's not even funny. Son of a Mitch. Yeah, we're cooked. Cooked. Bad. You guys see what I was talking about with that poll, by the way? Did you see it? I mean, look, they wanted, don't tell me about my history of saying CNN polls are garbage. You were just quoting CNN polls, dickweed. Remember? MAGA's 98%. What happened? MAGA was 98, 100%. Don't tell me. You used to love me. You hated CNN polls. Don't you criticize me for pointing it out. I guarantee you double haters, which I can actually look at. Double haters are probably Democrat plus 30. That's probably true. As a matter of fact, I'll look it up right now. Double haters. Hold on. I'm coming. Give me a second. Do I have to? Actually, I think I have it in the actual. I may actually already have it in that crosstab, guys. Hold on one second. Let me cancel that for a second. I think I could just go to the public crosstab I made. Double haters are in there. You just got to know what they're called. Come on. Come on. Generic ballot with leaners. Double haters are Democrat plus 20 in us. Democrat plus 20. And that's only because so many of them say third party. If I was to do double haters with only certain vote or, you know, with vote history and we tighten the voter screen, it probably would go to like 25. We're about 20. Democrat plus 20. Stupid fools. So like while CNN exaggerates it a little bit, I'm sure it's still that bad, but it doesn't matter because like the one thing is CNN has changed pollsters. So that trend isn't really apples to oranges. I mean, apples to apples. It's more like apples to oranges. SSRS now conducts their poll. I think ORC is in there. There may be even another pollster in there. 2016 was ORC, Opinion Research Center. So you are doing an apples to apples. Why? ORC was more accurate. They tossed ORC because it was actually more beneficial to Trump. All right. A couple thoughts on recent and potential future cabinet departures. There's more talk of Schmidt or Lee as AG. Right now, Lee Zeldin is the front runner, all right, which sucks. And I'm just saying that because Schmidt is the better pick. It's the Senate seat. They can actually win. He is solid. He's got a solid record. He's got a populist record even, or at least in part. He gets it. He's gone after the pharmaceutical lobby. He's gone after the deep state. Lee Zeldin, I'm just saying, I'm not saying this because I believe this. I'm just telling you optically, it would be absolutely stupid to put somebody, guys, pick a fucking white European Christian. Okay. You just want this thing to just continue to roll. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Lee Zeldin. I like Lee Zeldin. I'm just saying, can you do not have eyes or ears? Are you fucking retarded? Jesus. Listen to the damn people. Hold on, it's my son. Are you at the door, brother? Don't you have keys? Oh my God, I got to tell my show to hold on. Hang on, guys. I got to let the family in. You believe this? I locked the door on them. They have no keys. Can't you go in through the keypad? God, I'm going to leave this. Oh my God. Interrupting the show to let them in. Oh my goodness gracious. I'll say my hellos in a little bit. All right. I voted for Trump the builder. I got Trump the destroyer. Ooh. Burn. Back to drearier. 2. Or no, let's go 1. Schmidt or Lee. Andrew Bailey would be better. Missouri and Utah would be vulnerable. We'll all 2. We'd all love Cash, Lutnick, etc. to leave, but nothing will change until Trump stops putting donors first. Let me just stop you right there because I see the rest of your comment. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter if it's Lee Zeldin or Eric Schmidt for Attorney General. It doesn't matter who he replaces at FBI, replaces Cash with at FBI, until Donald Trump commits to that exactly, not putting donors first, and commits to what he promised voters, which was to completely dismantle the deep state. None of it matters. We need perestroika. We don't need fake reforms. We don't need somebody like Cash who says, I'm going to go in there and be a crime fighter. Fight the fucking crime in your own department. How about that? Let's start there. That's not what he promised to do. The FBI is one of the most hated institutions in the country. It's deeply corrupt. It doesn't even follow its own Woods procedures. Kash Patel gave promotions to people assigned to his friends to spy on them. Let's cut the shit, man. Once you become like involved in it, it's like, it gets real. Even if he does, who's going to want to work for a corruption-ridden administration on the cusp of facing a hostile House and Senate? This is the problem. Good people have already fled in droves. Somebody else just left Treasury a couple of weeks ago. That was huge, which you guys don't know of because, like, of course, it's not big news. But it's like not just the cabinet level positions. It's the level 2 and level 3 under that who really keep the wheels, moving, keep the wheels turning, the gears grinding. This is bullshit. No one's going to go want to work for the administration. No one's going to want to do that. Something else, drearier, we warned people. Did we not? Did we not? The problem is you'll get interlopers. That's all. You're going to get interlopers. That's all. Everyone's like, we got another 3 years. You got another 2 years. You got another month. No, you don't. You really don't. Nobody is going to want to do it. That's why people are leaving Congress, by the way. They don't want to have to defend the administration. Even if they survive a hard battle in the House and in the Senate, what's the point? And they get treated like shit. All he does is put his name on things other people build. Ooh. Trump was a brilliant builder. Honestly, I see what you're saying, but Trump was a brilliant builder, and then who is going to get rich rebuilding Iran? China? Depends. Maybe Jared Kushner. Stay tuned. We already know who's gotten rich destroying Iran. Who's got drone companies? Palantir? Palantir? Who's buying Palantir again? That's right. Who started the new drone company? Right? It's putting up buildings where there used to be people in Gaza. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Nowhere in my version of the Bible does Christ say, fucking kill everybody so you can make some money. We just destroyed a bridge. Civilian infrastructure, Jazz. That's civilian infrastructure. Who will get the money to rebuild it? China? Big bad toughie. Let's blow up a bridge, a civilian bridge. When are Ben Shapiro and company enlisting? Right. When are the podcast bros going to go join the military? Bro, they just raised it. Benji, little Benji, put down your violin, bro. You are now eligible. You didn't notice? You're young. You're younger than me. You are now eligible to join, little Benji. You can put your aspirations to be the first Orthodox Supreme Court justice on hold for a little bit. It may even help you if you get some combat experience under your belt. Come on, dog. Nobody's stopping you. Marines, IDF, 82nd Airborne. What's the difference? Get cooking, bro. Chop, chop. I think all the Trumps will leave the country to protect themselves in endless lawsuits. I think that's probably going to end up one of my greatest predictions ever. I hope not. But like Barnes thinks, well, maybe made a deal. The problem is you can't deal with these people. In the 2020 departure, he was advised by his son-in-law not to say the things to the American public about what happened with China that John Ratcliffe wanted him to tell the country. He was advised by his son-in-law that if you do that, you cross a line and they'll come after you. Maybe they'll just let you go back to Mar-a-Lago and chill and lead the rest of your life if you don't cross those lines. We need proof of life from Mark Mitchell. Okay. I'm going to have to go and I'm going to have to tell him that. Come on, Mark. We're going to need proof of life, homie. Mark, there you are. Proof of life, bro. Can we get some proof of life? Rich, please check out blobstudies.com, which I created to teach everyday Americans about the blob deep state. Also in the next book club, I want to go over my Tucker admin picks. Yeah, we probably can. I saw the video, by the way. I need to tweet that video. Demystifying the Foreign Policy blog. Mike Benz reacts to blob studies. Oh, for real? Oh, yeah, I'm definitely trying this out. Hey, guys, this looks really cool. I'm going to share it, actually, Chunkster. I'm going to share it right now, bro. Has Ben signed up yet while we were talking? Come on, bro. There's a war going on. It's going to take you 9 weeks to go through basic. Hurry up. You don't want to miss the plane. Let's go, Ben. Demystifying the Foreign Policy blob. Woo! This looks pretty cool, actually. I'll check it out. Good stuff, Chunkster. Good stuff. Mark is a good man trying to make the world a better place. He really is. He really is. This about sums it up, son of a Mitch. Let's see. Oh my God, I'm showing that. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's so brutal. What a brutal meme. Oh Lord. Watch this, guys. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. This is what people, and look, it doesn't matter if it's fair or not. I'm trying to tell you what people see. That's what they see. That's it. I mean, whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. If you're like a Trump loyalist and he can't do any wrong in your mind, it doesn't matter what you think. And by the way, you've basically always been there, and your vote is not enough. It's the whole point of a coalition. You're like 21% right now. Are you aware of that? You are 21%. Strong approval. That's what you are. 21% of the entire electorate. Great. You got about as many votes as Ross Perot did in 1992. GG. I'm over it, man. I've completely lost all patience for stupid people. I'm over it. And cowardly non-men, pathetic excuses for men who don't have the spine, the character, or the courage to admit when they were wrong. And they just keep the grift up, pretending like they're smart. You're not smart. You're an idiot. The smartest thing you've ever done is take advantage of people's confirmation bias. Be a man and admit you were wrong. Maybe if you did that months ago, this ship could have been written. Pathetic. I've never felt more politically homeless than I do. Yeah. I'm just worried about when the loonies take over and they come from all my guns. Yeah, come from my safes of guns, all because he squandered the power we gave him. That's the point of burn it down. You're either going to get left-wing or right-wing populism. The problem is left-wing populism isn't really left-wing populism. Left-wing populism is a lie. It's a false promise, and it ends like Pol Pot, bro. Like, I'm sorry. Like there's no other example. And you can't point to the countries in Europe because they've only allowed to rebrand their bogus, failed ideology because we subsidize it. Democratic socialism doesn't work if they have to pay for their own defense. We subsidize their way of life. We subsidize their little experiment. We subsidize their like Woodstock turned into government system that would never work in a international state of anarchy where NATO doesn't exist. And that's the most retarded thing about all of this. All of a sudden, neocons care about leaving NATO. So Israel can attack Turkey and we can help them, right? Because that's what their next plan is, which again, 6 months ago, I told you they were already in Washington trying to sell to J.D. Vance how we need to attack Turkey next. And the president, even before the war in Iraq. They only care about that now because, of course, bow to Israel. They're going to do everything they can to help Israel. It was time to get out at that time. Why would you subsidize a system of government or systems of government that are detrimental to your own way of life? Why would you subsidize democratic socialists in Europe? Why would you pay for it in multiple different ways, not just NATO? Why would you pay for them to make it look like this is a viable way to govern a country? Stupid. Yet another massive failure of conservatism that conserves nothing. Has conserved nothing. Zero. Zilch. Yeah, they're conserving stupidity. They're conserving their own stupidity. They're conserving their own stupidity, and they're conserving the blob. Project Hail Mary is a fantastic movie. Okay, I'll go check that out. I'm going to take my kid to the Mario Brothers thing too. My son said he would do it though, because he kind of wants to go see it, but I don't know. I kind of don't want to miss it. Outside threat did not unify the Indians, and Christians did not fully unify in the face of Islam in the Middle of Ages. I hope people aren't dumb enough to think aliens unify humans. Yeah, it's kind of just using Reagan's speech as a thing, but I don't think so either. I think we're probably more, because of the way they're going to do it, there would be a way which would be more stable. But if we did have a threat from aliens, I would see leftists like in Michael Brown riots before I think I would see them trying to unify and help their common man. I mean, look at some of the Quinnipiac and others we've done polling like this too. They wouldn't even fight the Russians if we were invaded. They would run. The leftists, they would run. They admit it to pollsters. I'm a coward. I'm running. I'm not fighting. I'm not defending America. They're not going to, what are they going to do if an aliens land, bro? It'd be ridiculous. I do think there's a way that the government could roll it out and make it like more unifying at least and make it more stable, but they won't do it because they don't have the courage. They can't do anything. They're not big enough. And that includes that includes Republicans, Republican president and Congress. They're clearly not big enough to tackle the needs, the very big challenges that America has and America is facing right now. It's obvious. I hate to say it. That's a good point, Robert. I was on a week-long service mission trip with college students from my church, and the amount of jokes made about Trump and his governing from conservative students, shocking. We were picking leaders for groups, and one student said, "Don't pick me as the leader. Trump will invade and kill me." Everyone laughed their ass off. That's where it's at, bro. That's where it's at. The amount of BB jokes I hear from kids like 15 to like 18, he's never going to get this stain off. The Republican Party is going to have this stain forever. Not forever. Nothing lasts forever. But you know what I'm saying? It will be, he has ripely effed the Republican Party. Guys, look at any measure. Like Bushism had killed the Republican Party and he resuscitated it. Like Jesus calling Lazarus out of the tomb. And now he's going to leave it in a worse shape than he left it when he lost election in 2020. Where are all the MAGA? Where is all the MAGA in Congress? Where? And he's supporting who? Lindsey Graham. He hasn't come out and endorsed Ken Paxton yet. John Cornyn spent $150 million. $150 million that Michael Whatley desperately needed in North Carolina. Susan Collins could use in Maine. It's unreal. It's disgusting. It's just, it's disgusting. It really is.
Hey, sexy, can you pass me the knife?
This knife?
Yeah, that knife.
There's a scissor over there, you know.
I need to open.
I didn't open any of your stuff. I wanted to wait for you. Look what I did get, though.
Hey.
It is, people are right. I do taste stevia I do. It's light. I don't like stevia. I don't like fake sweetness. Stevia, whatever. This one is, but it is, oh, can I just see that real quick before you take it? I want to show them actually. This one is all, but it is grass fed. It's super clean. And you can tell it's really like just mildly flavored. The chocolate is good, but this is chocolate chip peanut butter, I believe. These are supposed to be like high protein peanut butter or chocolate chip. So Transparent Labs is apparently like a very clean protein. I'm going to try. I got their bottle the other day. I think I did it on a stream on Locals or something. I'm not getting paid by Transparent Labs. I just literally was looking for a cleaner protein. And I like Diamatize a lot. They're very tasty, but they do have extra stuff in it. What's the other one? Muscle Sport? It's starting to bother me. I don't know, man. It's just bothering me. I feel like there's extra stuff in it. I should try Mark Loblaw's protein. Why didn't I try Tiger Fitness's protein? Their bars have a little bit more sugar than I normally like. Let's try this. Ooh. Oh. Oh, you got to try this. Oh, come take a bite. Oh my God, that's good. Very clean. Even though it feels like hard, it dissolves very quickly. Oh, yeah. Oh, and that Cernovich tweet is right on. That's exactly how I see it. Mike does have an uncanny way of knowing exactly what younger men feel. He does. That's why I'm glad you put that comment. I'm telling you, Mike's tweet, Cernovich's tweet about how corruption cuts, and how it demotivates in a way that nothing the enemy could do is the best like social media influencer take on the overarching theme of our political environment. It's the best take, period. Rich, I'm also interested in the alien story, but consider that that the CIA in 54 during Operation PB's success advocated for using UFO stories to distract the public. I mentioned this one in my Blob Studies lesson. That's true. They definitely do. Absolutely. They do. And there was also a huge, if you talk to certain people, there was a decades long effort to use UFO stories for two ways. One, to distract, and then the other was to mock it by having the most insane false flag stories. And there were people out there with like disinformation people. Yeah, I told you, it is one of those topics where you got to be very, very careful. Prox Europa, Rich, I knew for at least a decade now what this country was heading the rise of separatist movements, civil war, political parties, civil war, republic, then turned true empire, and the collapse of the dollar. This is before I finish your comment. I mean, the collapse of the dollar is like the biggest threat from the Iran war, the biggest threat. Always thought Trump could save it all, and having a gut feeling and a small chance he would betray. But I hope he defied it all. Sadly, seeing the above becoming a reality. You want to be honest, guys? I mean, I'm always honest, but you want me to be perfectly honest? I didn't think he would. I didn't. Not after the first administration. He took too much. I was concerned that there was a little bit more relationship trading and like, I don't call it quid pro quo, but people this time who gave him money, Marianne Madelson's a perfect example, thought they were getting something in return, more than just access. And he never acted like that before. So, but it didn't concern me like that, because this was a guy I saw take so much pressure and just bucket, and I just thought that he had a steel spine. It was like unbreakable, not steel. What's Wolverine made out of? What's Wolverine made out of?
What is what?
Wolverine. What's that metal?
Oh, titanium.
No, Wolverine is like, no, it's a fake metal. They made it up in X-Men. Come on, guys. What's Wolverine made up of?
I thought it was titanium. Oh, some unbreakable metal, right?
Unobtainium, pantane, something like that. I don't know. Something crazy. Adamantium. Thank you, pen guy. Thank you. Adamantium. Yeah. I mean, I just thought Trump was like made out of adamantium, and that was it. Like, I mean, it's like a little bit stupid. You don't worship leaders. Like, by the way, let me just end with that, because we are at our comments. Sycophancy and leader worship is un-American in this country. Un-American. It's un-American. They didn't even worship George Washington. The Senate made George Washington sit and wait for hours just to teach him a lesson. You don't worship leaders, and sycophancy is not helpful, but it is un-American. Questioning your government when it deserves to be questioned and criticized is the most patriotic thing you can do. We have a quote on our wall. Actually, one second. I'm taking that sign to show them off the wall real quick. Hold up, I'm coming. I know you would have got it, but you also just had a 3-hour drive, so I figured I'd get it myself. This is one of our favorites hanging on the wall. Loyalty to country always, loyalty to government when it deserves it. Mark Twain. There is a difference, in case people don't understand. Huge difference. Sycophancy and leader worship is un-American. Questioning your government in service of your country when it deserves it is the most patriotic thing you can do. Clip that. All right, guys. Yeah, there's a U.S. plane shot down over Iran. All right. Let's see. Going back into the field, literally as soon as I get off the phone, get off the show here, we're going to go back into the 4th congressional district in Kentucky. It's still so early. I haven't even looked at any of them like in detail. We didn't get that many completes yet. It's going to be tough. It's Easter Sunday. So, we'll probably have the results early next week. I'm basically waiting to see, I don't want to look. I'm being a little bit superstitious. It's still too small of a sample for me to draw anything out of it. So I don't want to do that yet. It will cost more than I expected, though. So if you guys want to go to the Public Polling Project, God bless you. BigDataPoll.com, of course. Go to the Public Polling Project and contribute what you can. You will see right up there, or just share it. And the more people we get, obviously, to contribute to the Public Polling Project, the less financial burden it is on the people who repeatedly give. I just want to show you, though, something real quick. because there's like one person has like a reoccurring payment that is very generous. It's an unfair burden, on all of you guys, the same people who give. So it'd be best if we could share it as much as possible. Obviously, our nationals didn't fund, but Kentucky was hot, man. It was on fire. There's really 8,290, and that's because of a $5,000 contribution that I have to manually put into the system. So I'm not exactly sure how to rightfully do that yet, but just know it's not that low. All right. So yeah, if you can grab that link, share it. We're going to be polling. We are. It is just going to cost a lot more. I feel like we need a large sample. I do. A large for a district. And that's always tricky. It's costly. It's not tricky. It's costly, All right. What else? I hope. We got another one. Used to really like listening to Dr. Steve Turley, but his show has just become a boomer con coat food. How to tune him out for now. I don't understand what he's doing. He's too smart. He's a smart guy. Maybe he just thinks positivity is the better way to go. I don't know. I just don't think that's helpful. Being realistic about your situation is the most helpful thing you can do. And that's why, obviously, I just went and got that sign. It's a matter of principle, but also it's politically smart. It's unprincipled and politically stupid to ignore and cheerlead and live in your own reality and live in an echo chamber and isolate everybody else. It's just it's just stupid. I can't, in case you guys haven't noticed with today's show, I'm just over the stupid people. I'm not giving them any attention. I'm going to mock them. They're not only stupid, but they have no character, no integrity whatsoever. We are now in April of 2026. If you disagreed with me or like others who were on the same page with me, 6 months ago, a year ago, whatever, maybe a year ago, 6 months ago, you didn't see it. If you don't see it now, you're either retarded or you're a dishonest person there. And I have no tolerance for you at this point whatsoever, period. You're just a wannabe loser who hopes above hope that somehow you're going to be able to explain this to all of your followers and fans. It's not going to happen. You're going to look like an idiot. And by the way, if it does happen, it would be because they finally called people like me and said, I'm sorry, I'll kiss your ass now. How do we win? Because that's the only way I'm helping them at this point. Hard to wrap my head around R plus 10 states like Ohio and Texas going for Democrats. How about Florida? Right now, Byron Donalds is struggling against David Jolly. Bad. Not saying you're wrong, but break down how that happens if you're willing. I'm glad you asked that, Hog Boy. Two ways, simply. Lower turnout among Republicans and a devastating margin among Democrats. And we have seen it before. This happened in 2018. Ohio and Iowa were already kind of like Trumpy, and by registration, Republicans had huge edges, and they swung decisively against Republicans. Even in 2024, Iowa, Ohio, these are deceptively red if you're looking at the party registration. Donald Trump won Ohio by 13.5 points. Bernie Moreno did not. He trailed Donald Trump by 10 points. Go look it up. You'll see. He barely won that Senate race. He's now facing, or I would say Houston is facing the toughest Democratic candidate statewide in the state of Ohio, Sherrod Brown, who trounced Jim Renacci, trounced him in 2018, even as Mike DeWine was able to beat Richard Cordray, not by a healthy margin, but he was able to beat him. That was the one bright spot for Republicans, one of the few in 18. But Sherrod Brown clapped Jim Renacci, and he nearly beat Bernie Moreno. There were tons of Trump Brown voters, Sherrod Brown voters. And people just don't understand that, when you lose independents by the margin they're losing right now, and your voters are demoralized and disaffected, that's why I brought up the Cernovich tweet. Those people aren't voting. So Democrats will outvote Republicans and they will win independents. And that is easily enough to make those states that people once thought to be safe, not safe anymore. It's the same story is everywhere. It's everywhere. Texas. You know, Democrats have never outvoted Republicans in a pound for pound contest like we saw in the primary. They did this time. Well, take that all of the Hispanics that back Trump have now fled away from Republicans, and take how Democrats are going to win independents by somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 points at least, maybe more, because independents are less white. In Texas, they could lose them by like 25, 30 points. I'm not kidding. In Florida, in the special elections where Trump lost his Mar-a-Lago district to a Democrat, they lost independents by 40 points. 40. And they must have, if they lost them by like 30, it means the crossover with Republicans must have been like 12 to 15%. So either one of those scenarios is the only way it makes sense. It was an R+10 district, R+8 turnout. So they still lost. I mean, that's how it happens. It's a false sense of security. I'm glad you asked that, though, Hogboy. That's a good question. But I mean, the answer, you know, that was the long answer. The short answer is it's a false sense of security. Lower turnout and a devastating margin with independents would be enough. And it has been in a lot of these contests, unfortunately, for Republicans. Okay, let's see. That's about it, though, right? I hope you all have a fantastic Easter Sunday. Even despite all of that, do not forget, especially my Christian brothers and sisters, that as much as Christmas is special and magical, without the resurrection, there's nothing. This is what it is all about. By the way, Cernovich is right about something else. This is technically the new year. This is why you always feel off during January. And it's like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Thank you, Romans. Right? Then this is the time of year of rebirth and renaissance and new life. Right? And that's why originally this was considered the new year. I tend to think this is why the Christ also picked this time of year for the resurrection. If not the Lord, and he just followed the Father. So yeah, I really try to stop and appreciate Easter, even though we're only talking about one day. There's no like Easter season, because the resurrection is everything. And if you're James and you have a brother, because at first James didn't believe him, your brother's running around like, I'm the son of God, bro. And you're like, all right, dude, you're crazy. What could get you to change your mind? To call your own brother the son of God. What could possibly happen to change your mind? Come back from the dead? Maybe. So, yeah, I love Easter. Love it. Don't forget to enjoy it. Take the time. I'm going to make a rack. Locals, I'm going to show you my rack again this year. Can't wait. All right, nothing but love for you all as always. Thanks so much for your support as always. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. The best place to follow is right here on Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com. But do me a massive favor. If you haven't followed the Instagram, the Gram, follow me on Instagram at peoples_pundit. There's a lot of really cool shorts on it, okay? But also, you're humiliating me in front of my children. They're like, see, Dad, you're not cool. You're only cool with people like 40 years and older. They're right. Time to get a younger audience. All right. Yeah, we'll work on that. So follow at peoples_pundit, and keep your eyes on the thing. If I do put out anything about what I see in the 4th, you'll see it on Locals first. And you'll see some shorts on Instagram shortly. I really do wish you guys all an amazing Easter. All right. And to Catholics out there, Friday, obviously, I know, I get it. Enjoy it with your family. And I'll see you guys soon. All the best as always. Oh, don't forget. Oh, she's right. Don't forget to pre-order Burn It Down. I'll put the link in the description on the outro. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Happy Easter. Bill says Rasmussen. Oh my God, they're killing me. Fix it. I think it's because they don't want to edit it while it's getting, it can have I think some kind of an impact maybe or something. Bill number 1 in new releases. Isn't that good? man. I gotta go to the gym. Deuces.